Think we're live now, man. Happy Friday, man. How you doing, Coop?
If you're thinking of moving here, don't move here. We don't want you here
Ah,
because
man.
we're sick of the traffic looking like California traffic all of a sudden.
Man,
Stay in
I,
the
I feel
city.
opposite. I welcome everybody to Atlanta that wants to
I'm
come.
not, no, it's not welcome to Atlanta.
Just
I'm
keep
tired
it
of sitting
peace,
in
peace.
traffic.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you know.
According to hip hop's running almost an hour late today due to Atlanta traffic. I want to thank Atlanta traffic.
Definitely, man.
It's freaking one
Um,
o'clock.
well, at least
Man.
you were able to listen to that Kanye West Part 2 interview.
Oh, Mike, I had plenty of time to do that in traffic.
I mean, sure. While we're welcoming everybody into the room, man, what did you think of it? And we'll get to all of our notes and all that stuff in a second. But what did you think of part two? And do you think it was even necessary?
My overall take on the interview,
Mm-hmm.
it was some more very insightful stuff. I try to focus on his highlights, not his lowlights, so to speak.
Mm-hmm.
And so he said some very thought provoking and astounding things once again that I think people are not paying much attention to because of the person who's saying it. But one of the most poignant things about it was when he started listing some of the things that people say that make him crazy. And when you start saying those things out loud, it really makes you say that people are crazy because it's crazy to call somebody crazy because of those things.
Exactly. And you know what? To kind of piggyback on what you just said, I think that a part two, at first I was like, is a part two necessary? First of all, it was necessary to bring on Larry Hoover Jr. To, speak about his father and what his father's going through. And, to finally hear it on a large platform, from his perspective. And shout out to Kanye for that too, because, all the time we have like different media outlets on the internet, bloggers, whatever. They like to get out here and glorify certain things, and no one really gives the family outlets to speak about some of the injustices and things that they're fighting for currently and what their life is like on a day to day. So shout out to Kanye for allowing that outlet to happen. But I do think this was also necessary in the fact that he said a lot that last interview. And even though you can never really say a Kanye interview is focused, because he's always all over the place, but this was a lot more focused on the substance other than, the shock value of him just dragging, Talib, even though that happened in this one too. But I think that this was necessary so that he could actually touch on some heavier things without, consistently being cut off or or just being distracted from, something else that's going on. There's I think the strong point of artists who are experienced artists who have those relationships being able to do interviews now, I think there's a strong point to it. And I love the fact that Nori is in this space and artists clearly feel comfortable talking to him. It's kind of like I don't know if you've seen when Beast Mode was at, I think it was the Super Bowl, and he wouldn't talk to anybody in the media. And when Deion Sanders came up there, yeah, he ran up Deion telling him whatever. And you need that. You need artists to feel comfortable enough where they can actually express themselves in front of their peers. I just wish that, and the downside of that is I just wish that, some of the artists who are in that space and who are able to obtain that, large audience and get great interviews like this, just do a better job of following up with questions and keeping the conversation going and not, just kind of cutting conversations off at the knees. You know what I mean?
So I want to kind of piggyback off of just your overall thought process about the lane that's created with having kind of like prior players, I mean former players and artists, that the other artists feel comfortable in that space going to, and all of that is valid because one of my biggest takeaways from this is if you look at the tape time between part one and part two, Mike, we're talking about pretty much 4 hours of tape time. Where
Mm-hmm.
else was Ye gonna go and get to speak freely like this for 4 hours? Because I think a lot of what he was even speaking to and why he even approached it in this manner and chose Drink Champs is because he's even saying something about, look where I have to go to speak like this freely. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
And that's why he is so community oriented, and he says some of the things that he says because, like, unlike a lot of people, no, Mike, I mean, no, unlike almost every other black person in his position, like, he knows where home is, and he sets up shop in a manner that no matter what you say about him, he can always go home, and that's kind of what this was too.
And
You
it's
know, he was
always
kind of yielding his
interesting.
power in a different way. He's like, no, like, I'm gonna go here because they gonna let me talk all my shit.
And it's always interesting to note that he is one of the entertainers that people act like forgot where he came from. You know, that's the narrative on Kanye. That's the reason why there is a narrative of the old Kanye, new Kanye. And listening to this interview, I just kept thinking that the Kanye that said, you know, George Bush doesn't like black people is the same Kanye that you're listening to today. You just don't like the things that he's saying as much as what you liked what he was saying back then.
No, you want to know what, Mike? Actually, he's saying the same exact things.
Same exact. It's just different players.
Mike, no, he's actually just specified in detail what exactly it is he's talking about. Like, George Bush doesn't care about black people is a broad and wide and sweeping public gesture and assertion. He breaks down for you now why George Bush doesn't care about black people. You feel me?
Oh,
That's
yeah.
different.
It's a lot more significant, not significant, a lot more sophisticated in certain, you know, ways that he's able to articulate it and be more direct. But the more direct that you are, like you said, that pisses people off and that turns people off. Like, oh, he's crazy. It's crazy to say that. Hey, do you have your mic on?
Yeah, my mic's on.
Oh, okay, cool.
Sure.
It sounded like you was like in the background or something. Shout out to everybody coming in the room. Tell a friend that we live. We were talking about this Drink Champs Part 2 from Kanye West. Did y'all see the interview? What did y'all think? But yes, he said one thing in there when he was talking about the George Bush doesn't care about black people. He said that was socially accepted because, you know, he was talking about the Republican Party. And we all know that the Democratic Party runs the media.
Mm-hmm.
And
well,
so,
I mean, at the time, yes.
I think the Democratic Party still runs the media as a whole. It's a liberal media. Like, watch Saturday Night Live or something like that. It's clear where they're going. Watch these award shows. They lean more left than right, unless you're watching the Country Music Awards or something.
I find that to be more a byproduct of the fact that people in the sports and entertainment and just public fields tend to be more liberal thinkers, thereby side more with the Democratic Party, and they use those platforms to exercise those views.
So most people in the hip hop entertainment industry, like the big dogs and all that, they are left. Why exactly? Would you say?
What do you mean? They are left why?
They lean more to democratic ways. Why exactly? Because I would venture to say, and I agree with what you're saying, I would venture to say that most of the hip hop, R&B, or anybody who's in mainstream music, mainstream culture, they're gonna fly a Democratic flag way before they fly a Republican flag, right? Yeah. And why is that?
I think a lot of that is just indoctrinated from our parents, you know, and from previous generations. Like, we're kind of like brought up in a frame of mind. It's like, we're black, we vote Democrat over here. You know, there's a whole lot of that in our community that still stays with us. I mean, my mother said that to me when it was time for me to register to vote. I can remember, like, when she said it, when I was like filling out the registration card and putting it in the mail.
Yeah, me too.
Just one of those things. And I can remember voting for Al Gore over George Bush and being like, man, like, I don't want to pick either one of these motherfuckers, really. And doing it and voting for Al Gore only on the basis of the fact that I was black and I was taught to vote Democratic. That's how I cast my first vote for president. So I get it.
You're right. And you know what? That was my first election too. I was 18. I don't think I even took in the information. I think I watched the debates just like everyone else does. But you're right. It was more of I was gonna vote for Al Gore because that's just kind of what I've been taught to,
Hmm.
and it wasn't even really about who was the better candidate. Um, even though looking back on it, I still think that Al Gore, let me say this, stature wise and just the way he was able to carry himself, I think he was the better candidate. But I can't really remember policy wise what was being said, either side. So, um,
No, I remember I was heavy into it. Like,
uh
Al Gore blew it. I don't really know how else to like frame that shit for you any better. He was just awkward and off putting, and W was just cool, and it was like,
yeah,
yo, I think I can smoke a joint and go to the ball game with this motherfucker.
you're
Y'all, I'm gonna
right.
vote
You're
for.
right, actually. And I do remember, now that you're jogging my memory, I do remember Al Gore going to the black church and kind of like faking it and,
No,
pandering clearly, what we would call today.
all he had to do was stay cool. You had one job.
But I do think that it's interesting that Larry Hoover Jr., was able to be a part of all of this and give a lot of information on what's going on. I even went onto their Instagram page and, followed so I can kind of be updated as well. I don't know what the details are as far as this benefit concert that Kanye's trying to put together and get Drake on one accord. But I did think it was interesting in the fact that he brought up this notion that I've heard Dame Dash speak about before. It's like they want entertainers, black entertainers, to continuously go at each other's neck, right? And and as long as you're continuously going at one another's neck, you can't really get on one accord and make power moves together. And I don't think that there's any. At this point, Drake doesn't have an excuse to not unify with Kanye. And Kanye's put Drake in a position where it's like, look, I done linked up with your man, Jay Prince. We're out here fighting for Larry Hoover.
He just said he liked them. He's
Yeah.
like, I like Drake.
So it's
What
like,
do you mean?
what's the problem? And so we saw, I want to say it was yesterday, Drake did a post, or somebody did it. I think it was Jay Prince or Drake. He might have posted as well, where it was Jay Prince, Drake, and Larry Hoover Jr. in the picture, and everybody's like, "Well, where's Kanye?" Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, what's the problem?
The hell going on?
Like right now, it's looking, and I don't know if Kanye's doing things on the back, in the background or whatever, but right now it's looking very one-sided.
Absolutely.
I think with all this Astro World stuff going on, and the fact that Drake's been pulled in this as well, I mean, he's gonna almost have to do this benefit.
Oh yeah, he doing the benefit.
He's gonna,
I
but
don't know
see,
what you're looking for.
but again, man, what is the actual
Politics,
problem?
man.
What's that?
Said politics, man.
You know what it looks like, and I don't want to get on a conspiracy theory soapbox or whatnot, but it
Yeah,
looks like at this point
you do.
somebody was sent to was sending Drake to take Kanye out the game. That's what it. I mean, really, why is it so hard to just be like, you know what? We saw how easy it was for Soldier Boy, right? Kanye sent him a text. He like, man, that's what's up, bro. That's all I wanted. Boom. That's all it needs to be.
Mike, Drake, who you sending to take out Ye?
I think that's who the industry said. He got
They said-
numbers.
That's who they sent. Okay.
There's a generation that feels like Drake's top five, right?
No, Mike, and it's fine that they feel that way, and it's also fine to be wrong. And both of those things are true in those occurrences.
But that's what I'm
So,
saying. That's who they're sending. You remember when they was doing that whole Sprite rollout where they had Nas, Rakim, Biggie, and Drake, right?
very disrespectful.
That's the narrative.
Other three guys.
Who do you think signed off on that?
Oh, some white guy we don't know, Mike.
That's what I'm saying. So let's not act like there hasn't been a plan for Drake to run this thing anyway. So it's
No. There might be a plan for him to run this, but what does that have to do with Ye? Ye something else. Like Ye somewhere else that Drake can't even like fathom touching right now.
I agree, but even even Kanye gives it up, and he said in this interview that there was a time where Drake was running things, and I, what I'm saying, was feeling like I wasn't on top of music like that. Well, he kind of compared it to where he is and where Jordan Brand is, where Yeezy is and where Jordan Brand is. But yeah, I mean, if we talk about numbers though, Coop, we got to keep it real. Ain't nothing bigger than Drake in hip hop.
That's nice. Like I don't know what you want me to say. Like I respect Drake and I respect what Drake does, but it's like it's just not the same. Like I told you, it's like he's not even Wayne. So when people are saying that like he's top out, I'm like, hold up, he's not Wayne.
I know when people, you have like a lot of radio personalities that go out there, and again, they're on payroll. Let's just keep it real, man.
That's what I'm saying. What are we doing?
But
It's like
anyway, they'll go out there and
not
act
even Wayne.
like, and they'll go out there and act like Drake and Jay Z is a good comparison. Like, you know what I'm saying? They'll act like it's an even comparison, like how we talk about Jordan or LeBron. You know what I mean? And so I'm like, what are people listening to? Like, what are y'all? Everybody in the room right now. I mean, am I tripping? Is somehow Drake on the level of a Jay Z as a lyricist, or is
No, but
this
I
just
think he touches.
propaganda?
I mean, he touches an emotion with a generation. I'm not gonna lie. I remember one of the last times I was with my sister and she hopped in my car. It's my youngest sister. She's 15 years younger than me.
Hmm.
So we hopped in the whip, and one of his songs just came on, and like she knew everything word for word instantly and was nodding her head. So it's like, no, I get it. I can see it. I can look in my own family and a generation younger than me and like see it. But it's just like at the end of the day, the standard that we measure things by and what things really are at the end of the day that the media is not supposed to be in control of, that we are supposed to be in control of, which is what Ye's overall message is. Like his overall message is very comparable to ours, Mike, here at According to Hip Hop. And it's like, no, like we run this shit. Like y'all don't tell us how this goes, when this goes, where this goes, or like none of that shit. You know what I'm
LP
saying?
says LP says hell no, maybe just impact in the mainstream. What does that mean? Is there impact in the mainstream? You know what I'm saying? Like
No, it is because we're talking about Drake right now, like,
what is
or
his
people talk
impact in the
about Drake is
mainstream?
even better than Wayne, and he's not. Don't keep on saying that. He's not even Wayne. So why are we having this
Has
conversation?
he not had a better career end to end than Wayne?
In the end than Wayne?
Because
You understand what you're saying when you say that?
I do
You're
understand
talking
what
about
I'm
a guy
saying.
who,
Because
when you talk
Wayne
about
has
a guy
had some peaks and valleys. He
like,
has.
but you said in the end.
In the end, he's had peaks and valleys.
Oh,
I think that Wayne's had more of an incredible career, but when Drake jumped off, he's been on top of the game since he came in it.
but look at, like, even when I say this, when I say he's not Wayne, part of him jumping off and becoming as big as he did is because the guy who everybody considered the best rapper in the game, he came on the back of.
No,
Or
one
did I
hundred
miss that
percent.
that happened? Or did
No,
I miss that that happened?
no, one hundred
That's why
percent.
it's
No, no,
like
no,
he's
no.
not
Listen,
even Wayne. So he's
listen.
not even Wayne, which means in this hip hop game, we don't need to be really having this conversation. Yeah. Yeah, we
Well,
don't.
you know what? I always lean towards the bars, and I think you said that when you were talking about Bodie
We
James and the
rap
Bo
shit, yeah,
Jackson.
we
And
on
the
this rap
thing
shit.
is, like, I didn't need like 15, 20 years to know that Jay Z was one of the best MCs I'd ever heard, right? I didn't need 15 to 20 years to know that Nas was one of the greatest that I ever heard. And so when I go back and, just randomly hear songs like I think Lobster and Shrimp came on the other day, when Jay jumped on Timbaland shit, and you always hear that story about how he just went in there 15 minutes and knocked that out. And it's like, dude, Drake's not even on this nigga's level. Like it ain't even a conversation. And
What are
again,
we
I
talking
hate
about?
to I hate to sound like an old nigga or whatever, but it's just not a conversation. I'll
So
even take it another step since we're talking about generational stuff. I could sit here and listen to Kendrick Lamar on field, and these guys aren't even in the same league.
don't shoot at the same hoop.
These guys aren't even in the same league, and I know that people are kind of make that a mainstream backpacker type of debate, but it's really not. Speaking of which, man, did you hear what Kanye said about using the backpackers?
Oh yeah, totally. Sounds about right.
I was kind of surprised by that because I felt like it was the other way around. I felt that he used the other guys and was a backpacker and was the person that bridged that gap. But you know what? He never mentioned Tribe, and I think Tribe is Kanye West is a solo version of a Tribe Called Quest, right? Bumped up to the next level, where it's like Tribe is kind of backpack, but really not.
No, I tell you what. So, I've made this like claim like a lot of times. Like Nas is where the baller and the backpacker meet on It Was Written. Like
Oh,
right around
definitely.
that 95, 96 time. That's where the baller and the backpacker meet because he spits in a manner that all the backpackers love. But the talk is fly and he is who he is. So like the ballers are with it too. Ye is that on 10 to me. He's
You know
that
what?
amplified.
I
He's the
don't know.
baller meets the backpacker amplified. And part of that is because it's like, well, if you really want to call it Mike, both the backpackers and the ballers use him for beats, but really in the long game, he used them to get where he was. He just played the game better.
Well, you know what? I got a lot to say about that, but I want
We
to
do.
address that whole Nas thing though. I never really considered Nas a backpacker. I think that he's just such a dope MC and lyricist that backpackers are forced to respect him. You know what I
But
mean?
that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. Where the backpacker and the baller actually meet and agree on an MC for the first time is like him because a lot of the backpackers, oh, they're not really with Pop
I think
or
he was
Biggie
just on some gritty
or
shit. You
Jay
know what
like
I'm
that.
saying? Like, yeah. But see,
Yeah,
Nas was blessed with the fact that he just had the full package that the industry was gonna rock with, and that the underground was gonna rock with on a talent level.
right.
You
The
know,
baller and the backpacker meet, like I said.
now as
Yeah,
far as Kanye West using everybody, I think it's just so ironic. I don't think there's anybody who's played the game of hip hop or played everybody involved and still is playing everybody involved like a Kanye West, man. Like
right.
he knew they thought they were using him for beats, but
hmm
ultimately he was using them for his grand master plan, which is where he is now. And for people who don't believe that Kanye West had all this planned out, he had all three of his albums. It was more than that. It was like 4 or 5 of his albums planned out before College Dropout even dropped. He
It was five
execute,
if memory serves.
yeah, he executed out on 3 of those. The only thing that kind of, I won't say threw things off, but his mother passed. That's when he
Life.
went off course.
Life.
And even
Yeah.
with that, I'm sure that he had a whole nother plan that he didn't share with everybody like he did initially, and he executed on it.
hmm
And as you say, man, you either what is it? What's the saying? Fail to fail to plan, and you plan to fail. This
Yep.
guy, he's thinking 2 or 3 steps ahead of everyone, and I've always heralded Jay-Z for the fact that he thinks 2 or 3 steps ahead of everyone. I think Kanye thinks 2 or 3 steps ahead of Jay-Z, and and it's been proven that he has done that on every level. They didn't see his billions coming either. That was another thing that he got them on.
He's their, like I said, Mike, he's their beat maker.
Yeah, yeah, and he played that role too. He's like, okay, yeah, look at me as the beat
Yeah,
maker.
yeah. I'm gonna make your beats for you. What you need,
Yeah,
man? What you need this?
I
What you need with
got you.
that? Hey, Mike. So where do you want to go next? Like with this interview, like one of the things that I found fascinating is when he talked about the 12,000 acres in Wyoming and the whole farming system, and talking about some of the natural resources that the earth still has in terms of how to generate power, fuel,
Yeah,
water, irrigation systems, conservation. That's what I mean. Like that's not crazy talk. Like if you think that's crazy, that means you're not paying attention
it's
to the
crazy
things that are
talk to some
going on
people.
around you.
It's crazy talk to some people because, like he said, with his
Not crazy.
wife becoming an attorney.
And what's going on to the price of food and the steroids being injected in the food and
hmm
like the shortages and what's happening to chain supply since this pandemic. Like, are you not paying attention?
I mean, they don't. it kind of leans to the fact that they don't want our entertainers thinking like that.
Right. So,
Yeah.
and I'm gonna tell you
Because
what.
they're
So,
influential. And you want your
right.
influential people out there doing destructive things, clearly. I mean, again, that's not
Mike.
just that's not me talking. Go out there and look at who is influential out there and look at what they promote from what they do.
So, Mike, I mean, he even started off this part of the interview with something like very poignant, and it's something me personally, as a man, as a Christian, that like I've been arguing with other blacks within my community about like literally for years, Mike. And that's that like when he says stuff like slavery didn't like bring Christianity to blacks. Like we're original man and creators of
Hmm.
it. Like we're the creators of it. Like how can you say that we, this enslavement, like we may have been contorted and distorted by the abuse of it.
Right.
But even if you hear an artist say something like that to start off an interview, I'm like, we ain't gonna get this shit from nobody but yay, Tupac's not here.
Yeah, it's funny you say it like that, but you're right. If you're talking about on a mainstream level and everybody's
On
like,
my level, not
yeah,
saying something like that to start off an interview. Who talks off by talking about we're the original blacks who wrote the Bible anyway? What is this slavery shit you talking about?
listen, man, anybody wondering what or wishes that Tupac was around in these times and what he would say, probably going to be very similar to what Kanye West has been saying
Don't be
in
very
these.
comparable. It's gonna come out different,
Yeah.
but yeah, it's gonna come out more poetic.
I mean, it may or may not, but I think that the tone of it too might be even similar. Like you could tell his frustration in his peers. But see, that's the thing, man. I think that's why Kanye West is the leader, one of the older artists who's able to be a leader for young artists and young hip hop fans, is because young people, regardless of whatever, they respect the truth. And young people will gravitate to the person that's just being real to them. That's how you're giving game to the young people. Like lying to young people and telling them that, okay, well, I hate to say it like this, but it's a passive way that a lot of older people seem to, talk to younger people. Just say, pray about it and don't give them any other, answers or solutions or dig deep in there. They're like, whatever. Young people don't want to hear that. And the way Kanye's talking, that's what young people want to hear. And I think that's why, even more so than a Jay-Z, young people galvanize around Kanye and his message and his delivery. And it's interesting because the same people who were younger when he was saying George Bush doesn't care about black people, they got older and conformed a lot more. And now this man's crazy.
No, he's not crazy. See, that's what I'm saying. It's
No,
just
I
like
mean,
when
you
you
know what
start
I'm saying.
breaking it
They
down.
say
So,
that.
so, so no, you talk about how the kids gravitate to the truth.
Hmm.
Well, that's a damn shame that you're saying that, Mike, because it's like, what the hell are the adults doing?
The adults are conforming and lying. The
Right.
adults
The
are
adults
doing
over
what
here
they gotta
conforming and
do
hold on,
to
Mike.
get by.
No. So you make a very, very strong point. That's what I'm saying. The adults are conforming and lying. So what is it saying when the adults are calling him crazy?
They're
That's
lying.
the conformers and the liars.
What
Right.
Tupac say?
There you
Tupac
have it.
said, "Man, a black man gets tired after 30, and you just conform. Like all that young energy and all that shit that you were fighting for. Like, cause if we could dial the clock back on a lot of people who are older now, who have conformed, who just tired of fighting or whatever." When they were younger, they were out here in the streets. They were out here trying to get, certain things done. But when they get to a certain age and you have to conform and you have to, well, you don't have to do anything, but you know what I mean. It's,
Right.
you compromise to a certain extent.
I think
And
it's more acceptance than compromise, Mike. You
yeah,
accept certain things. Yeah.
exactly. And you get
Yeah.
tired. I think being tired is a part of it too.
No, so can I say a couple things?
Go
Like
ahead.
first of all, when To Pimp a Butterfly like came out and I heard that, like it hit me hard because it came from a place of me being in my mid 30s and knowing exactly what he was talking about. Because when To Pimp a Butterfly came out, I was actually in a process of like quitting some of that conforming and kind of just getting back to who I am. Like if you remember, that's around the time I started working for According to Hip Hop because
Mm.
I was sick of conforming to like what my life had become because I knew that like what was out here for me as a black man in America, oh well that shit really wasn't for me. And so when Tupac is saying that sentiment about that conforming, like, Ye sounds crazy to you because you conform.
Some
And I know what it's
reprogramming
like
that
to
needs to take
conform.
place.
I know what it's like to be conformed and then have to like unravel that. You know what I'm saying? And it's hard and it's a process when you learn that you've accepted certain things. You know what I'm saying? The younger you would have never ever accepted. That's why doing this has been so important to me the last 5-6 years, Mike. It's been part of me unconforming myself and getting back to what the fuck it is that I do and who I am.
It feels
And so
good to
that's
be honest. You
crazy.
know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah.
we at this point we don't have anybody paying us to say, such and such is hot or such and such is top five and all that stuff. Like, and
I think
to
it's
just
even
be
better that
able
we don't
to,
want that shit, Mike. It's even better that we don't want that shit. It's like, get out my face with that shit, nigga.
because listen, man. I mean, I'm not gonna sit here and tell y'all that Drake is top five or Drake is top 10 or Drake is who's better, Drake or Jay-Z. I'm not gonna sit because I honestly don't feel that way. Now, if somebody wanted to get on the show and seriously felt that way, we would talk about it and we would break it down to why a person disagrees or whatever. But see, the thing is, I just couldn't, because I come from a radio background, right? I
Yep.
just couldn't. I couldn't go on Radio One or iHeartRadio or whatever and say the things that I say here. And I love hip hop too much to get on this microphone and lie to people. Now, am I right all the time? Nah. Of course, nobody's right all the time, but I'm at least giving you my honest opinion. And I couldn't do this thing if I had to go on iHeartRadio or whatever and tell y'all that Jay-Z and Drake are in the same lane as lyricists. I couldn't do it.
So, Mike, I'm gonna bring up somebody, and I'm
Hmm.
gonna compare them to Drake, and I want to know what your honest thoughts about
Okay.
it is. Mariah Carey, Mike. Who in this community feels like Mariah Carey is the best singer ever to come out of the black community? Like, who feels that way? Like, she has the numbers, don't she?
She does.
She got the hits, right?
All right. Yeah, of course.
But do
I,
but do but do any of us in the community feel the way about her the way we feel about Aretha Franklin
of
or
course
Shaka
not.
Khan
I
or
wasn't
even
even
Mary?
gonna
And
go
Mary
there.
can't sing as good as Mariah on her best day, and we still feel more about Mary. And so what I'm
I
saying
was
is
gonna
that
say Mary. I was gonna say the stark difference is Mary and Mariah,
right,
um, because they came in the same era, and
mhm.
I think if they did a versus, obviously
Same here.
on paper, Mariah Carey has the hits and yada yada, but I think people gravitate more to Mary J. Blige. It's kind of like that John Stockton thing I was telling you about earlier, man. Like,
Oh, here you
cause it's
go.
like on paper, people would say, "Yo, Mariah, got the hits over Mary."
No, I mean Mariah don't just have the hit; she has the voice like Mariah. Like you ever
Yeah,
heard some of Mariah's runs? Like no,
no,
she
I
crazy.
agree. She's a better singer than Mary J.
I
Blige.
mean, she's a better singer than like 90% of the people who have ever lived. Like she's like that. Like, but you don't feel that shit. Nobody thinks she's the greatest. Same
Just
thing
like
with Drake.
people
It's
don't think that.
I know she dope.
Just like people don't think John Stockton is the greatest or top three point guards of all time, and he by
It's different.
far
That's because he's not.
leads. Hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on,
Because
hold
he's
on, hold on.
not. Like,
Oh, let
God.
me look. On paper, let's just keep it real, man. John Stockton has two records. What is a point guard supposed to do?
Run the team.
What stats would you say are the most important for point guards in that position?
Actually, Mike, I'm going to tell you the most important stat for a point guard isn't
Turnovers.
assist. No, it's assist to turnover
Uh
ratio
huh.
is the most
Definitely.
important. Assist to turnover ratio is the most important.
Okay.
Yep.
I think steals are up there too. We're not expecting a point guard to rebound, are we? We're not expect. Which is more important for your team? If you're building a team, you want a point
Mike,
guard that's going to put up a lot of points or get a
you
lot of
want to
steals and
know?
assists.
No, Mike. All jokes aside, I felt that way about point guards until I saw Scottie Pippen play defense, and then I said anybody can get steals. It's about, you know, it's not
Uh,
just a guard thing. Scottie kind of changed my frame of mind like that. Scottie was taking the ball from people like he was a guard at 6'7", small
and he
forward. So
still has a fraction of the amount of steals that John Stockton has. John Stockton has 15,800 and what is it, 6 assists. Number two is like Jason Kidd with like 12,000 something. Like no one's ever gonna catch John Stockton's assist record.
So when you say that, I mean on an average season, I think average season for a point guard where you would consider it to be a great assist season, you're going to get about 700. On a great all-time great year, you're going to get 1,000 assists. So when you say it can't be broken, the way some of these young kids are coming in the league, no, it can be broken.
It's not going to
be the right guy.
It's not going to be broken, Coop. I mean, we talk. You know how many 14,806 assists are? No one's even come close. You know how long Chris Paul's been playing, right?
Been following him since he was in high school. I'm from Carolina.
He's like 500 away. He's at 10,000 something assists.
You mean 5,000 away?
Yeah, I'm sorry, 5,000. Excuse me. Yeah, he's like at 5,000 away. So he would have to basically do half of what he has done in his career so far to even match what John Stockton's done assist-wise in his career. No one's going to catch that. The steals somebody might catch, but he's far ahead in that too. And so with all that being said, I don't really see how...
Hold on, Mike. So this is what I'm saying. So when you say that, and you go to Chris Paul and say that it can't be broken, no, the fact that somebody like Chris Paul, who came into the league as a point guard and was responsible for running the team and distributing, but was also the focal main scoring option for like the first 5-6 years of his career, because John Stockton had Karl Malone, he was never the first scoring option like Chris Paul was. If Chris Paul would have had a Karl Malone, we wouldn't be having this conversation. So situation and circumstance have a lot to do with it. Because Chris Paul got some 23, 22-point years. Stockton don't have those.
Well, there's a lot of things that would have to be in line. And like you said, point guards are asked to score a little bit more.
Hold on, how about this, Mike? How many times did Stockton get 20 points and 10 assists in a season? Because Chris Paul's done it a whole lot.
No, I agree with you.
He's done it. Matter of fact, Chris Paul's done 20 points and 10 assists more than Isaiah Thomas and Steph Curry.
I think point guards in today's game are asked to score a little bit more, but I don't know if that's a great thing. But if we're talking about what the point guard position means, and I think, and to bring it back to Mariah and Mary, I think when people think about putting John Stockton in that conversation, we're not thinking about the position anymore. We're thinking about who do we think will win in a one-on-one.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
Mike, you have no proof outside of those two numbers, though. Like, I got dudes that got rings and finals MVPs and 20-point, 10-assist seasons.
Who's the last point guard to win the finals MVP?
Point guard?
Yeah.
Off the top of my head, Chauncey's coming to mind.
And you're really going to tell me Chauncey Billups is one of the greatest point guards ever?
Not one of the greatest.
Come on, man. Him and John Stockton aren't even in the same conversation.
Let's
stop that.
I'm not putting him on Stockton's level.
Come on, man.
But I mean, Mike, like, how about this, Mike? In order to put John Stockton in the top three, you're going to have to take out either Isaiah Thomas or the greatest shooter of all time. Like,
I mean, if we're talking about the point guard position, yes, I'm taking Steph out of that. Steph doesn't do anything in the playoffs. He doesn't have any finals MVPs. Last time I checked, CP3 ain't won no rings either.
No, I mean, if you want to say that CP3 is not as good as Stockton, I can give you that because there's some credence that says that on some sort of level. But, Mike, Isaiah Thomas, I mean, like, it's not a question about Isaiah Thomas.
I give you Isaiah.
Okay, so you're giving me Magic and Isaiah.
I give you Magic and Isaiah.
Steph. This is about Steph.
Yeah, it is.
You know Steph got 3 rings, right?
Yeah, he has 0 finals MVPs.
He got 2 regular season MVPs, Mike.
He doesn't do anything in the playoffs, man. We know that.
Greatest shooter of all time. No, Mike, I agree with you. Like, his playoff performances.
And if he steps up in the playoffs and plays like he's playing right now in the playoffs, then I'll give you that. And I love Steph. I was on the Steph train and everything when they were 73 and 9.
I remember when you were on that train because I was on the Kevin Durant train when Oklahoma City was up 3-1 and you and me were talking big shit. I remember.
Yeah. I mean, you know what? Steph really disappointed me. I will say that, man. What he's doing right now, he was doing that and some in that season.
You know what you're doing right now.
Man, look, I want to see Steph perform in the playoffs, man. And at least with Stockton, you remember he hit that game winner and shut out the Suns?
hold on, Mike. Let me say this. People forget that last Finals MVP
No,
that
the
Kevin
Rockets. My
Durant
bad.
won. The last Finals MVP that Kevin Durant won, and we're gonna get back to this rap shit. The last Finals MVP that Kevin Durant won. Like, you understand the only reason Steph didn't win was because Kevin Durant had like one of the all-time great NBA Finals performances, not because Steph didn't play great. He played great throughout the duration of that entire Finals. He was just next to like, probably one of the 10 greatest players of all
Yeah,
time.
because he called that nigga to come play with him because he couldn't do it himself. Is that not true? If you're already a two-time MVP, you're an unanimous MVP, and you go call the second best player to play with you, how productive could you be then?
Mike, I mean, first of all,
Come on, man.
just for me, if you want to hear me call it, Kevin Durant's been the best player in the league since about 20 of the year they
Okay.
lost 3-1. He was the best player in the league that year. From that point on, he just went to Golden State. But like to unpack all of that, he's not like Steph's not Kevin Durant, but he's better than John Stockton.
On a
Hello?
one-on-one maybe, but if we're talking about, man,
Kevin Durant? No, he's not better than Kevin Durant.
who's
That's
that?
a little
Oh,
crazy.
yeah, Kevin Durant.
It's
No,
not
but
better than
again,
Kevin.
the fact, you know what? I think the day that Steph had to call on Kevin Durant after he went 73-9 and gave up a 3-1 lead in the finals, I think I lost a little bit of respect there. I'm sorry. It is what it is. We talk about the Rockets, right? We talk about the Rockets not making it to the finals. You know why they didn't make it to the finals against the Bulls? Because Stockton hit a game-winning shot and close that series out. We don't have those kind of things with Steph. We don't.
And Steph has 2 MVPs and 3 rings that Stockton doesn't have, Mike.
You're talking about regular season stuff. And really, the one ring that he
3
did
rings
get,
is not regular season stuff.
listen, the one ring that he did get without Kevin Durant, Kyrie went down and Love went down. Is that not true?
No, Kyrie was busting his ass in game 1. Kyrie had 25 points when he went down.
And just tell, and you know what? And let's not be so hard on John Stockton. He lost twice to Michael Jordan. You're telling me that Steph Curry's teams would have beaten Michael Jordan's teams that Stockton lost to? Okay. So let's stop it. Let's stop that. Like, come on, man. That's not cool.
No, he wouldn't.
Sorry.
They wouldn't even got to 100 points most of those games.
Right. So let's not be too hard on Stockton when it comes to that. But how do we even get on this?
You, with these Stockton comparisons, because I bought a Mariah.
But all that being said, yes, I think there is a feel when it comes to, our community and certain artists and what we feel. And maybe there is a generation that does feel Drake on that level. And for whatever reason, they can listen to Jay-Z on the streets is watching and still feel like Drake is a better rapper. I don't know.
And that's fine, but when you pull the lexicon of Black culture together, that's why I brought up Aretha and Shaka too. It's like when you pull it all together, though, Mike, and bring the generations and genres together, it's like no, right?
Yeah,
it's the same thing here with Drake. So it's like even if he is the guy from this era, or one of the guys, or one of the 2 or 3 guys, when you pull it all together in this Black experience musically. Hell no, he's not top 5.
And I don't want to get on this. I don't want to get on this soapbox either.
Look at a T-shirt that says he's not Lil Wayne. Like from end to end, listen to how Wayne sound this year. Like a couple, like listen to no.
And I don't want to get on this soapbox either. And I'm sure our fans would love if I do get on this soapbox. But I think Eminem has shown us over decades that the numbers and all that stuff, it's good for the moment. But it's all about how the music ages. And we don't know yet how well Drake's music is going to age.
No, I think we kind of do, Mike. Drake's been around for a minute. A lot of that stuff holds up. It holds up pretty well.
You think so?
Yeah,
like I'm gone.
Yeah, most of that stuff I'd say holds up fairly well. And this is from somebody that's not the biggest fan of his. You know what I'm saying? Like, yeah, no.
I heard the best I ever had the other day. It sounded kind of aged. I don't know.
I mean, it sounds kind of nostalgic, Mike, but I mean, I said fairly well, not like aged wonderfully. Like, but aged fairly well, yeah.
I'm going to be honest, man.
Still sound dope.
Speaking of aging, me and my fiance was riding around the other day, man, and the Dynasty came on. And, just ended up listening to the whole album. That's a very interesting album. I haven't listened to the Dynasty from beginning to end in a very long time.
Because you didn't have a
I
reason
believe
to,
it
because
got
it's not
foreign.
that good.
No, it's not. It didn't age well either. It's all over the place. It real. I don't know how Jay Z got away with calling
People
this a.
thought I was hating
No, no,
when
no.
I
I don't know
said
how
that
Jay Z got
was
away
good.
with calling this his album. This is clearly a compilation.
And it's
Um,
not that good.
the production's all over the place. Like, I'll put it this way: the fact that it's a compilation, or I'm sorry, the fact that he made it sound like it's a solo album, it's like the compilation side of it excuses how scattered it is, if that makes any sense. You know what I'm saying? Because compilations are supposed to be scattered. Like the Rough Rider, there was a lot of compilations around that time. I think No Limit had one. I want to say Cash Money. No, it was the
What
realest
are
niggas
people
down
saying,
south.
Mike? I'm seeing a lot of comments pop up. What are the people saying? I
people are
just want to hear.
saying people are saying the dynasty was okay. They're talking about Steph. They're talking about the basketball stuff. They're saying I'm tripping about Steph. I'm not tripping about Steph. Steph doesn't go in the playoffs and play with the same intensity. It is what it is. I know it hurts. As a Steph fan, I hate to admit it myself, but he's not Chef Curry in the playoffs. He's not. But anyway, the dynasty's all over the place. But the thing is, the fact that it's a compilation excuses that. But if we were looking at this as just a Jay-Z solo album, this album is not good. I hate to say it's not good. It has great moments. We talk about Volume 1 like it's scattered. This is even more scattered than that.
Without the same level of brilliant moments.
Oh
So
yeah,
the intro,
lyrically he's not that great on the Dynasty lyrically.
it's not that good at all. Outside
No,
Mike, the intro, This Can't Be Life, and 1-900 Hustler. Next.
he's not even the standout on This Can't Be Life. He's not the standout on 1900 Hustle. The intro is the standout moment of the Dynasty for Jay-Z. Now I'll give it to me. Obviously, that's a hit record, and I think that's one of his records that has lasted a long time. But a lot of that stuff on that album sounds super dated. I mean, you would even forget that he had a single with R. Kelly called "Not Guilty." Like these are forgettable songs.
It's very problematic looking back on it now.
It's crazy. And then he got that song where he's talking about his man's daughter. I'm not daughter. I'm sorry. His man's sister that he fell in love with. He's taking her to college and all this stuff. Weird songs. Like the Dynasty's not a good album. And the fact that it actually got 4.5 mics when it dropped, I feel like they were rating it on. Well, they rated it because it was Jay-Z, you know.
I mean, they give
And
him,
like when Eminem said,
we give him Mike like 100 G's for that for that extra mic. 100 G's for that extra mic.
what Eminem say, 4.5 or 5 means you Biggie, Jigga, Nas, or Benzino. That's the album he was talking about because Dynasty did not deserve 4.5 mics. And I'm just sitting here thinking like, how are they rating this?
Neither did I Am.
No, it did not. You're right. No, it did.
What are you doing? What are you listening to? Nas
You know,
is
honestly,
like good enough to give you 4.5 mics.
Beanie Siegel. I think Beanie Siegel was the highlight of that album too. People are saying Me, You, Him, Her was the best song on the Dynasty. I'm not mad at that, but Jay is on there talking about
what that was. That was some this, that, and the other. That's what that was.
the beat was dope. But Jay on there talking about some knock the man off your polo sweater. What did he say on there? It was bad bars, man. Like, what's his best verse on that album?
The intro.
Okay, if we're not counting that, because the intro is a standout. Yes.
I mean, Mike. No, his verse on 1-900 Hustler is pretty strong. Here's a couple of suggestions of how you could finesse it. You find a dude in town, you send them a short message. Hey, I'm new in town. I don't know my way around, but I got some soft white that should have come back brown. I get that butter all night because most niggas don't know a brick from a bike. They stay buying hard white.
Yeah.
If you free them all night, we can meet and discuss price. FYI, I never been robbed in my life. Yeah.
Nah, that's a good verse.
Yeah, that's
a good
Jay.
Verse. Yeah, that's Jay.
That's the only real Jay verse on the album.
Well, that in the intro, and like I said, Give It To Me's dope. I liked his flow on Change the Game, but just sonically, like production-wise, That album was all over the place, man. Leo Manning says the Dynasty is 3.5 Mike album. I agree with that.
I said, what did I say, Mike? Must have paid 100 G's for that extra money.
So yeah, man, it was weird listening to that, and it made me think we were leaving out something about Just Blaze, because I want to talk about this Just Blaze thing too, because I don't think we talked about Jay-Z's response. And so I know Just said, I was listening to a Just Blaze mix on Abstract Radio, and he said that, and actually this is one of my favorite songs on the Dynasty too. Damn, what's the name of that song? Stick to the Script. That's it. I like Stick to the Script. That was the first beat he ever made for Jay. And so I'm sitting here thinking about when Kanye said that Just Blaze, copied him and this and that. And I'm like, okay, well, that wasn't a soul sample on Stick to the Script. But would you qualify the Dynasty intro? Because Just Blaze made that too. Would you qualify that as like a soul sample? Or does 1-900 Hustle fit that?
No, soulful. Like more soulful than soul sampled, I feel like.
Have you heard the song that the Dynasty comes from?
Mm-mm.
Nah, man. It's very fast. It's almost like, it's kind of like it's like one of those 80s, up-tempo records, man. I wish I could play it. I don't want any copyright strikes or anything like that, but go listen to it. And I don't know if it qualifies as a soul sample, like if we're talking about, something like Heart of the City, where it's Bobby Blue Bland, and you know what I mean? Like, it's a little different.
It's just clear and you hear it, right?
Yeah, it's like, it has a soulfulness to it. So I don't know, but I will say, technique-wise, Just Blaze could lean on the intro and say, well, I sped up a sample, on the Dynasty album. But again, we don't know what song came first, that or This Can't Be Life either.
And you don't know how long Ye had those beats in the can when he pulled up to the blueprint too.
Exactly.
You don't know.
Right. Lex P says a funk sample. Yes, he's right. I would give it a funk sample. That's what the Dynasty intro was.
Okay, funk sample. It had. That's why I said it's like, well, it had a soulful feel to it, but it's like,
Yes, Lex P brings up another good example. He said the Takeover wasn't a soul sample. So I would kind of.
That's the Doors, Mike.
That's the Doors. So I would technique wise say that the intro for the Dynasty is more in line with the Takeover's technique from the Doors. 5 to 1.
Mike, all of it really RZA shit if you ask me, but okay, go ahead.
No, I feel you, and obviously, you know what I'm saying, they ain't the first to do anything, but as far as taking it into that new era, because we got to admit, things got very cartoonish in the late 2000s, the early 2000s, late 90s. Yeah, production-wise. On a mainstream level.
Glitzy. Very glitzy.
And again, the Dynasty is a shining example of that. Where it's like, it's a lot of that cartoony computer Rockweiler type of shit. I was listening to Star the other day, and he was talking about this subject, and he was talking about when he was at Hot 97 and ran into Just Blaze, but was hearing about Just Blaze. He was like, I felt like his stuff sounded like Rockweiler. And that's an interesting assessment, because when you think about Rock the Mic and the stuff that doesn't involve soul samples with Just Blaze, it does give you a Rockweiler or what's his name that made, or Rick Rock type of feel?
I'll say more Rick Rock. I get the Rick Rock thing. Yeah.
Well, Jay got on
Rick Rock around during the Dynasty? Didn't Rick Rock do a track on the Dynasty, Mike?
He did a lot on the Dynasty. He did change the game. Yeah.
Right.
Exactly. No. Rick Rock did a lot on the Dynasty.
That makes more sense to me, because that's more direct influence from somebody that's already in the game making beats.
Around you?
Beats. Around you? Yeah.
Well, Jay-Z got on a Clubhouse.
I can hear you, Rick Rock, when you take the soul samples out for certain. Yeah.
Jay-Z was on Clubhouse talking about the new film that he's involved with, The Harder They Fall. And this was like last week. And I know we didn't talk about this last Friday. I want to say it was like last Thursday or something. And he was asked about the Kanye West interview. And, he basically said the part that he wanted to speak on was, him talking about Just Blaze copied him, him meaning Kanye West. And he
Mm-hmm.
was saying that, there was a mission for the blueprint, and the mission was soul samples. And so nobody copied anybody, they just followed the mission. And I found that interesting because I'm like, if the whole initiative was soul samples on the record, how did Ola Ovito and Jigga Jigga That Nigga Jigga and Renegade make the album?
Mike, what did Ye say about Obama? I like him, but he worked for them people. That's that's Jay. Jay sound like Obama right now. Like, yeah, I like him still, but he worked for them people. That's one of them for the people answers. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's bullshit. But,
The third producer. Well, I don't want to say the third producer, but one of the producers on the Blueprint, Bink, he made 3 tracks on there. He posted the part that Kanye was talking about. Just Blaze copying, and he said, "I'm gonna leave this here. Now call him bitter for telling the truth." And yes, to the guy in the background, I was super happy to hear this. Good morning. Ye and I crafted that album, period. Ye brought his sound and I brought mine. So
I mean,
confirming to an extent that yes,
yeah.
Just Blaze did indeed copy,
Mike,
Kanye West.
Bink's the author of my favorite track on the Blueprint, which is actually All I Need, which I actually thought was a Kanye beat just from how it sounded. I just assumed over the course of time that it was Ye because I ain't looked at the notes in so long. Like, I ain't pulled out my Blueprint notes in a long time.
Yeah.
You know?
I think Bink made my favorite song on the Dynasty, and they were using Bink for a reason. Like he had a flavor that he brought, but I'm not buying that
Bink. Always
whole.
like Bink. Yeah.
What's that?
Bink.
Yeah, I'm not buying that whole notion that there was a mission for the Blueprint to be soulful. I think that kind of just happened, and it comes
I think he,
across like you
I think
said that Kanye kind of had these tracks on deck, and they were
Right.
already made. It's been highly documented because he
This is what I
gave.
mean, though. Like,
Yeah, go ahead.
sometimes things happen organically. I think Jay was in a place where he was on top. A lot of people were coming at him, and for the first time since really his first 2 albums, he actually had something to say, like really something to say. And that's not to say that Jay don't be saying stuff, but it's like, right, if you go listen to Volume 2 and Volume 3, he's not really saying anything.
Volume
He's
3 in
saying
the Dynasty, I think, is him at his most uninspired moments. At least Volume 2, you got a week ago. You got
right.
Hard Knock Life. He
He's
had
hard.
something to say there, and it's all
What I
right.
mean is
But
like
yeah,
even what
Volume
he's
3
saying
in
there is
Dynasty,
like
yeah,
really outside of a week ago, he's not saying much on Volume 2 either. But I feel what you're saying.
yeah.
But I say that to say is that that's something that I feel like the soul samples came into play more because it played well when he started recording those first couple of songs with what his content was, because this was somebody that was approaching 30 years old on top of the game. You know what I mean? It felt like it came together with what he was talking about. And that's where I think maybe it became a focal point where it's like, no, these soul samples are kind of fitting the theme for what I'm going through right now and what I have to express. Now let's roll with more of these. And that's when guys start breaking out their database. And so really when something like that happens, it's like, it maybe seems more like Bink and Kanye already had shit that fit that mold on deck when Jay decided that was the direction he wanted to go. Well, just didn't have that, so he had to go do what? Create that.
Timeline wise, and again, I don't know. I don't have any insights over there. But timeline wise, I'm more inclined to believe Kanye's side of it. It makes a little bit of sense, a little bit more sense when we talk about. I mean, we've heard his story about how Heart of the City was made while he was, moving in his first apartment with his mom or whatever, and that was supposed to be for DMX, and then it was supposed to go to Beanie Siegel, and it went through channels, so it's like clearly he wasn't in baseline making that for the Blueprint, right? So,
Mike,
and we know that Never Change was also for a group that was in Chicago. I forget their names. They even ran up on him for, selling Jay-Z the beat. So these tracks had been around.
Right, he had been done.
So
think about where Ye is coming from at the time. He's not Ye yet. This is Kanye West we're talking about. He comes from Chi-Town. That's a big blues and soul town.
right.
And so when you start thinking about even the roots from where Kanye comes from, it's just like, no, it makes Ye's story make more sense. But also too, and this is what I mean. And so we got to be careful about this. There's not necessarily anything wrong with what Just did per se, though. He did what he needed to do to get placements on the blueprint, and his contributions are noteworthy, Mike. You don't know?
Yeah. I mean, Song
You
Cry.
don't know anybody. You don't know anybody. So it's like, no, it's like Kanye might be the originator and the author of the style, but the album still got put together mostly by three producers, and it just sounds like the third producer had to come and get on the level that the other two were on. And he was also the one with the least amount of placements at the time. That just kind of makes more sense.
I'm more inclined to believe, speaking of Girls, 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 which Just Blaze ultimately made, I'm more inclined to believe that the Girls, Girls, Girls remix might have been the original. And the one
I
that
believe
Just
that.
Blaze was able to, I guess, quote unquote, recreate or whatever, ended up being the one for the album.
No, I agree with you with that because when you hear Jay on that record, it sounds more like Jay, if that makes sense. When you listen to the records side by side, it sounds like the version that's at the end of the album got recorded before. It's like, no,
Right.
let me slow this delivery down.
Cause
Give
it's
me
not
something more
even a
soulful.
it's not
Let me
even a
flip it and make it
theme
a little
with
bit
it.
more right.
Yeah.
Because part two is a little more misogynistic too.
And I think
You,
if part two would have actually carried on that original theme and took that to the next level, then it would be more believable of it being an actual part two. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Um, the other thing I was gonna say though, I would love to see like a timeline. And I mean, I guess I'm a hip hop nerd. I love this kind of stuff. I wish we would know what songs were recorded in what order for that album specifically. Especially
It's not
now since
song.
Kanye brings up this interesting dialogue. Like I want to know like what song was recorded first.
Oh, hold on, so Mike, when you say that, here's what we do know. So we need to run to the notes right quick. It was 9 tracks in 2 days.
Yeah, that makes it even more interesting.
Oh, hold on. So Bink did three. How many did Ye do?
Ye did three, I believe. He did Heart of the City. He did Takeover. He did Never Change.
He did more than three, didn't
He did Izzo. He did four.
he? He did four. So he did 9 songs in 2 days. So and Bink did three, right?
Bink did three. Hold on, I'm about to look up the album now. I don't want to miss anything. We be on live, what I'm saying, YouTube, so sometimes we gloss over things. Yeah, he did Takeover, he did Izzo, he did Heart of the City, he did Never Change, and if you want to count Girls, Girls, Girls 2, he did five. But yeah, he did four that made the album. The original
Sound
cut album.
right. So when you're saying 9 songs in 2 days, you're telling me Ye did 5 tracks and Bink did three. So what are the chances that those were the songs?
Who did Lyrical Exercise? Do you know off top?
It's my second favorite song on there. I don't know off top. I
Uh, let
love
me
that record though.
let me see who did Lyrical Exercise. Anybody in the chat know off top who did
That
Lyrical
should have been
Exercise?
part of the album to me, actually, Mike.
You think so? I
I would
understand
have.
why it wasn't.
I'm going to tell you exactly how I feel. I feel like lyrical exercise could have been placed right after the Rulers back and before the takeover.
Nah. Maybe I'm used to it being where Just Blaze did that. So Just Blaze did Breathe Easy. He did Song Cry. He did You Don't Know, and he did Girls, Girls, Girls. You know what I think was the first song on this album recorded?
What?
I think it was Jigga Jigga That Nigga Jigga. Sounds like the Dynasty J on there. Even though, this was like months after the Dynasty, obviously. But it sounds like a song that he kind of recorded in a rhythm of like the previous album, but he didn't want to cut it because he wasn't sure of how well received this other stuff that he was doing was going to be. It's kind of a safety net record.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like that one might have been first. I have no idea what Ola Ovito was recorded, but I have to feel like those two probably were the first ones recorded because based on what he said in this Clubhouse,
Those,
if you started on this soulful theme, I don't see how you deviate from that and record Jigga Jigga That Nigga Jigga and Ola Ovito. You know what I mean?
right. That's one of those. Those are what I like to call coming off the tour bus tracks.
Yeah. So I believe those two were probably recorded first. Just guessing, I'm thinking Ola Ovito was second and Jigga That Nigga Jigga was first. But after that, it's probably one of those Kanye songs that was first. I would dare to say it could be Heart of the City. Or Takeover. Was it Takeover first, I wonder? Because that verse was already on Summer Jam. What's the timeline on that?
Might have been the Takeover, Mike.
Yeah, it might have been. The Takeover might have been the first of those batches that were recorded. But I'm very inclined to believe that the Just Blaze stuff was done last. And, someone in the chat said that Just Blaze has stronger production work than Kanye on the Blueprint. And I agree with that. But
I agree with that.
But if you're coming behind somebody, it's a little easier to do that, too.
Right, when the road's already been kind of paved for you and it's not like dirt and rocks and gravel anymore and there's asphalt down, it's a little smoother to roll on it. Yeah.
Yeah, most definitely. I think All I Need and The Rule Is Back. I think The Rule Is Back could have been very early too.
Yeah.
And I might be saying that just because it's the intro, but
Takeover was definitely early, Mike, because the Nas part wasn't on there on the original part. Remember, it was originally a 3-verse song directed at Prodigy specifically, and he went back after Summer Jam and inserted that Nas stuff.
Well, it's an interesting thing, too, because it's like, I feel like Jay's the kind of MC, especially the way he was recording then, when he doesn't write anything down, he's not going to have a verse without it having a beat. So when he did it, it had a beat. Because he went out there and just did the acapella at Summer Jam, right? I think so. I don't think the beat was there.
No, there was something there, I think.
The beat was there? Okay, well, that might have been first.
Yeah. Because remember, it was a whole scene, Mike, the whole Prodigy and the ballerina outfit from his, I think it was his aunt ran a dance studio.
Yeah.
And he used to be enrolled in the dance studio. The whole picture came up. And at the end, he was like, ask Nas, he don't want it with Hov. No. And that's when people went crazy. Like, oh, he's setting it off for real, for real.
Imagine that. Kanye's first major placement like that on,
this is your
run.
favorite rapper of all time. I love rap. Yeah.
Well, speaking of which, man, I saw this post, and we saw it in the group that we were in. Actually, my guy over at Boom Bap Nation, man, I think he posted it originally. They were asking, and I'm glad this narrative's out there, what is the best beat that Nas has ever rhymed on? And I love the fact that, we're highlighting great beats that Nas has rhymed on because there was a slew of answers. And yeah, I want to ask y'all in the chat right now, what's the best beat Nas ever rhymed on?
So, Mike, your answer was Made You Look, because I saw your answer when I popped up in the group and I saw the question. I was like, that's a great question. We should talk about it on the show.
I mean, and I said off the top of my head without thinking, you know what I mean? The first ones that came to mind for me were Made You Look and The World Is Yours.
Those are definitely two of the best ones. Made You Look and The World Is Yours came to mind, too. I forget who did it, but one of the members in our group put down an eye for an eye, which I agree with. That is one of the best beats he's rapped to. But Mike, what I was surprised when I jumped in and I didn't put my thought in, I was like, nobody thinks Verbal Intercourse is one of the best beats he's ever rapped over?
It's interesting. And, it's like, again, Nas has rhymed over so many great beats. We forget.
He has. And one of those things that I realized is like, yeah, this whole Nas ain't a great beat picker thing is really, really whack.
It's
because Mike,
bogus.
Mike, I could think of I was literally ran through about 15, 20 tracks off the top of my head. I'm like, those beats are great.
Well, I'm going to the chat right now. People are saying Nas is light. See the firm. I don't know. I don't know if they mean.
People I've realized a lot of people think that the best Primo Nas collab is Nas is Light.
I see Eye for an Eye. I see Ether. Yep. I see Get Down. I see The World Is Yours. I see the Stillmatic intro. I see Memory Lane. I see One Time for Your Mind. I see You're the Man.
No. Yes.
I see Affirmative Action.
No. The hell?
Letter to the King by High Tech. I see Verbal Intercourse. It ain't hard to tell. Got Yourself a Gun. Ooh, I never liked that one. Phone Tap. I see More Money, More Murder.
Yes.
Yeah.
See, that's what I'm saying. He's got a bunch of those. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Listen to all those. Whoever said more money, more murder, like shout outs. Like that's a gem right there. That beat is dope. That beat is crazy. Like it's not easy to rap over a beat that melodic and that slow.
In Between Us, Silent Murder, Verbal Intercourse,
Silent Murder played for me today, Mike. That beat knocks.
Shootouts, one of my favorite beats on It Was Written.
I can see shootouts, but he's picked better. I told you, Mike, the setup is the real like gem on that album as far as like the storytelling songs. But yeah.
Again, a Second Childhood. It's a good one. Thief's Theme. Oh, that's one of my favorites too.
Yes.
He sounded right on that, man.
Yeah, Thief's Theme is
that beat Thief's Theme is a beast, man.
That's what I mean. He picks great beats. Like
how do people call him the worst beat picker? That's crazy.
Like just off of this, Mike, it's like how many MCs like that are considered in his stratosphere have singles with the beat backdrops of Made You Look in The World Is Yours, specifically those two, and you can throw Nas's Like in there. Those are the three singles that he's released, but beat wise, and I'm like, yo, name a rapper that got three beats like that, that's an MC that releases it for a single. That's what I listened to The World Is Yours today because I just wanted to make sure. Like for me, Mike, that beat is such a hip hop beat, and that song is such a hip hop song. I just wanted to listen to it again today to make sure that it's like the beat. It's like that beat crazy, man. Pete Rock is nice.
Yeah, man, it's beautiful, man.
Beautiful
Pete Rock
hip hop record. It's a moment. It really
Pete Rock is one of my personal favorites. I mean, I think that the bigger question is, when they're saying he's the worst beat picker, well, let me just say it like this. When Vlad says that he's the worst beat picker, who are we talking about? Who are we comparing it to? You know what I'm saying? Are we comparing this to Biggie, Jay?
I was about to say, because if you're comparing him to Big, that's not fair because, like, for me, if you just go look pound for pound at the tracks Big picked to rhyme over, it's like, well, that's not fair.
Do we even know Big picked those to rhyme over? Because Big even said it himself. Puffy was a big part of that process.
How about this? When I hear something like "I love the dough," I'm like, "That's Puff." But when I hear "My Downfall," I'm like, "That's Big."
I don't know, dog. Some of
that stuff, like the way it slapped, I'm like, "That's that gritty shit." It's like that's Big.
Look. Don't get it twisted. Puff has a gritty ear. Have you heard the Black Rob album? Even if you listen to Puff Daddy and
I'm like, he got a great ear. He don't have a gritty ear.
He does have a gritty ear. When you listen, come on now. I mean, he can do the shiny stuff.
Ear. He don't get a gritty. Biggie got a gritty ear. Machine Gun Funk. My Downfall. How about this? Let's go to the Primo tracks on Life After Death. Kick in the Door. Oh, that's Big. 10 Crack Commandments. Oh, that was the shit that Puff liked. Right.
I think you're basing that on what we know of these individuals' personalities.
Right, Mike, on the entirety of the history of all the glittering and glitzy shit that Puff picked versus like the hardcore shit you hear Big Rock on.
No, I think you're basing it on what you've heard Puff on as an artist. Because if you listen to Black Rob's album, Black Rob got some gritty shit on there. He does.
No, Mike. I love Life Story. Life Story is one of the most like unheralded great rap albums of all time. Rest in peace, Rob. You know I know some of Rob's people. Like like some of those beats on there are gritty, but also too, and I'm gonna tell you this, Mike, and I know this for a fact, Puff wasn't around like that when Rob was putting that project together. Know that for a fact. When Rob bought Puff the project, that's how it ended up getting delayed. I like the original version of Life Story better. The original version of Life Story don't even have Whoa.
Well, well, I mean, he needed Whoa, but who put?
Album's great without Whoa, but he needed Whoa.
Yeah, he needed Whoa. Who put Easy Mo B with Biggie though?
That's Puff.
Yeah, I mean, look. Again, all I'm saying is Nas never had a Puff.
Oh no.
He never had a Puff.
He's discussed that. He had an opportunity for Puff. He declined. Because he wanted to make The World Is Yours.
But unfortunately, though, if Nas would have went with Puff, more than likely it would have been
Wouldn't have gotten The World Is Yours. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it more than likely would have been like a Locks direction, because I think that's one of the biggest missteps in the Bad Boy, I guess, hip hop era is how he mishandled the Locks first album.
It's the misstep in the Bad Boy.
Yeah, because everything else is damn near, on point. Even from Total.
What are you doing?
I think when the Locks came around, Bad Boy had made so many hits, and everything that came out under the umbrella had hits behind it. And Puff was in a position where it's like, okay, well, I got to make these guys a hit. They don't have the versatility at the time of a Biggie or something, right? So I got to
Listen to what
find
you're
a
saying.
way.
Say that again out loud. They don't have the versatility of a Biggie. Welcome to the other
That's what I'm saying.
99.9% of the rap population. Welcome to the other 99. They're not as versatile as Big. What are we doing? That's what I'm talking about how it's a misstep, because if that's what he was thinking, that was the most fucked up thought ever. Nobody's ever been as versatile as Big on the mic. That's some simple act.
I guess it's just like saying, you're not Michael Jordan. That's not an insult.
It's like, oh, you can't go give me 35, 40 off rip? No.
You don't have a 48-inch vertical? It's nothing I can do with you, man.
Like, I mean, like, Mike, even with NBA shit, I don't think people understand, like, scoring 30 points a game, like, one time is, like, really hard. Doing that shit over the course of a season is, like, how unreal you gotta be to do something like that?
He did it over the course of 15 years. And we're counting the Wizard era, which, again, I got slammed for even comparing King's Disease 2 to the Wizard era, but the Wizard Jordan was good. I don't understand what the problem is.
If I'm not mistaken, the Wizards era dropped his scoring average like almost 2 points. It was like 32.1, and it ended up being 30.1.
Yep.
So we're really talking about.
I want to say it dropped it. It might have just dropped it like a point in 1 point, or maybe a point and a half, because he still was averaging 22.
Right. No, that's what I'm saying. It dropped it almost 2 points. But when he retired the first time, I remember his scoring average was like 32 points. You know how hard that is to go out and ball like that every day for 50?
What 38-year-old and 39? Well, he was 39 and 40. What 39 and 40-year-old in the NBA is averaging 22 points a game? Ever? Tell me, like, for real, like some Tom Brady stuff. But
Kareem was averaging 10 points around the same age.
Of course. This is what I was going to say.
They spent the same amount of time in college, so the careers is more, you know what I'm saying?
When we talk about Nas's beats, Nas has rhymed on some of the dopest beats ever in hip-hop, right? So I guess when they're talking about his beat-picking ability, this seems to be a direct reflection of what people think of Jay-Z and his beat-picking ability. Do you think Jay-Z's beat-picking ability is just that great? Or do you think it's overstated to a degree?
So can I tell you something?
Go ahead.
Everybody. Nas is actually a better beat picker than Jay. Jay is better at picking beats that fit him, though. If you were to actually pull out Nas's 20 strongest beats and Jay's 20 strongest beats, Nas is actually going to win. Jay's a better beat picker on the level of he picks what works for his style better than Nas does.
I'm going to disagree with you slightly. I see where you're going.
We'll get to the records then. No.
Nas has rhymed on some incredible records. I think where Jay is strong at, Jay has the ability to adjust to beats a little bit better than Nas does. A lot better, actually. And I think that makes it.
Oh, and I think that comment was valid up until King's Disease 1 and 2, but yes.
Yeah. And so I think that, no, you're right, 100%. But in the primes of their career. And so I think it kind of gives the illusion that Jay just picks that much better beats than Nas, whereas I think Jay just adjusted to Swiss coming in. He adjusted to Tim coming in. He adjusted to the Neptunes. He adjusted to, Kanye, Just, and all of that. Because before Kanye and Just got on their run, I can't even really say that Jay was just an incredible beat picker. He was just adjusting to, some dope producers already. You know what I mean?
No. You want to talk about like the flexibility and the agility to like rhyme over different styles, beats, and come off well. That's what I'm trying to tell you. It's like, no, he comes off well. Like he's going to fit stuff that fits him more. So let's go back to the first Ye interview where he's like, where Jay really got Nas was if that's your bitch. And he's not talking about the lyrics. He's talking about the style. He's like, because Nas couldn't rhyme like that when Jay started rhyming like that. So what that does is that opens up the type of beats that Jay can pick from, because you're not going to hear Nas get a track from Timberland like, is that your bitch? Because it comes off more like you owe me.
So I grew up in Atlanta, Georgia, for those that don't know. And you know what I'm saying? The South is the South. You know what I mean? We have a whole different flow when it comes to hip hop and New York MCs, at least when I was growing up in the 90s. You know what I'm saying? We was listening to, well, I was listening to New York MCs and I was considered weird because I was listening to, you know, Wu-Tang and stuff like that. But anyway, I remember on the
Right.
school bus, they were playing Jigga What, Jigga Who, and Jay was flipping his flow like that. Kids on the school bus was like, man, LL need to go ahead and give it up to him, man. This man the king of rap. But that versatility is what makes it seem like, I mean, because that
So,
beat is cool, but the beat is dope, and he's been able to adjust to it, right? So it
so
makes
I'm
it look like he's the great beat picker where Nas is falling short. But Nas,
right.
like you said with that Kanye statement, he wasn't like changing it up. And that was one thing that Jay said on the takeover too. Switch up your flow. Your shit is garbage. Are you trying to kick knowledge? He played on
The
that.
first, hold on. The first part of that bar is strong. The second part of that bar is highly ignorant.
It is.
Whatever. You're trying to
100.
knock somebody for taking knowledge for what
Right.
we got going on. I always had a problem with that bar on the back
Well,
and the
I
front
mean,
of the
Nas
super.
answered that. You know what I mean? Like, I'm trying to kick that shit you need to learn, though. You know.
That ether, the shit that make your soul burn. So yeah, that's one of the best. Yeah,
Yeah.
that to me, that line is actually the highlight of ether. But here's the thing. How about this? Like when Ye is talking about how like is that your bitch? Like the ability for Jay to flip it like that. Like for me, Mike, it was actually when I heard Jay get on the Ha remix
That was
because
trash.
I was like, huh?
I ain't
Well,
like his
here's
verse on there.
you didn't like it, but what I was talking. But how about this, Mike? That was the first time that I even heard an MC of his caliber get on a track like that from some down south guys and even have a go of it.
You're
and so
right.
for me, that's
To
when
attempt
Jay
it.
really that's where Jay really took it. Rakim ain't never rhymed on no shit like that. Kane, G Rap,
No,
Nas,
you're right.
they had never did that. They
Biggie
never
wasn't
did
doing that either. Yeah.
Big, no, I bring up Big too. Big
Yeah.
wasn't do that either. Neither was Pac, Mike. Like so, like all those dudes that came before Jay, and that's the hustler in him. He's like, no. These down south niggas is like getting it cracking. I'm versatile enough to jump on that wave. That's where he got Nas because you hear him on a lot of stuff where he comes off great, and it's not East Coast based. Because
Hold on,
that's
hold
what I'm
on. Was
saying.
that before or after Big Pun got on Mr. Serv-On shit?
It's a valid question. I don't recall offhand. Valid question.
No Limit was a little different because the East Coast was rocking with No Limit or vice versa. Maybe Master P was getting those placements because I remember,
That's P's witness, man.
right. I remember Mystical and ODB getting on the same song. You know what I'm saying?
I remember that. That was dope.
Yeah.
That was dope.
That was dope. I remember Jay-Z was on I Got the Hook Up soundtrack, right?
But listen to what I'm saying. We had never heard an MC of Jay's caliber be willing to step in that realm that came out of New York. Never. And so for me, that's where he kind of took it because in 1998, you think Nas was about to rap on how?
Well, Unknown Name says Tupac was on the Down South record. He's talking about Scarface, I'm sure. Scarface is a little different. He's an outlier.
You talking about my homies?
He's talking about my homies. I'm sure he's talking about Smile or, you know, Ice Cube was on.
When is Smile? When is Smile? 97? That's 97.
Was it 96 or 97? Yeah, I think it was 97. Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to give him the Pac thing, but Face is different. But okay.
Face is very different. Cube was on Face shit too, so, you know.
He's on the diary, hand of the dead body.
Yeah. Yeah, Face is a little different. He's an outlier, but yeah, I guess it's stylistically
Face
though.
retiring, Mike.
What's that?
Face retiring. I'm sad.
I mean, you know,
Like he's retiring.
he says he's retiring, man. We'll see. I mean, I think great musicians never really retire. I think that he's probably
it's like I don't think he's gonna record another album, Mike.
Why did he say he's retiring?
I mean, you know what he's been going through personally with the, his son
Right.
giving him, I mean, that would strike me as the type of thing. He ran for a city council seat a couple of years ago, if memory serves. It might have been last year.
Right.
He OG with it, you know what I'm saying? He been not having to rap. It's just like, I still want to hear him rap.
Yeah. LP says Raekwon and Outkast. Yeah, that was 98. Around the same time. I think Raekwon. But see, again, I think that, let's be perfectly honest, though. I think Face and
And see what
Outkast.
I'm about to say, facing out, like y'all
They're a
bringing up
little bit
facing
more
Outkast.
East Coast influence. I understand what you're saying.
How
Where
about this? Like
Cash Money
facing
was, yeah,
Outkast. How about this? Facing Outkast specifically are the reason that Jay is on the Juvenile High remix. Like that
right.
group and that guy are the reason that he sees it and are down there. And that's what I mean. Like, well, it's a little different because, well, they're kind of the reason that those guys started coming down. You feel me?
Slick Rick and
Specific.
Outkast. I remember that. That was a dope record.
98. That's 99. That's 99, actually.
Yeah, that was
Isn't it?
99. Oh, speaking of Slick Rick, what about Slick Rick and Jermaine Dupri? Yeah.
Isn't that 98?
That was 97, I believe. Or was that 98?
I think that's 98, too.
It might be right. No. I think that was 97. I'll go back and check.
Yeah, we got to go back and check.
But yeah, I mean, I understand what you mean, though, where it was like...
But that's what I'm saying. Even all these guys that we're naming, even Slick Rick, lyrically, not Jay. That's what I'm talking about, an MC of his weight. Like, you got to understand, like, Jay in 98 dropped Volume 1, had dropped Reasonable Doubt, was a Biggie, Nas, Rakim, Kane, caliber MC.
Leo Manning's bringing up Biggie and the Brat, the B-side. I never knew that you never had a clue on who was the king of the street.
The Brat's from Chicago.
Yeah, the Brat is from Chicago.
Brat's from Chicago.
I don't know why people think that the Brat's from... I guess, Jermaine.
She been down here and got roots here for so long, and that's cool, but, like, she shot town with it.
I remember I asked on According to Hip Hop one time, like, who is the best female MC to ever come out of Atlanta? And people were naming all kind of female MCs that ain't from Atlanta, like Shauna, the Brat.
The Brat and Chi-Town. Both of them in Chicago.
Exactly. I think, before Mulatto came along, it might have to be Rashida.
I would agree with you on that, but it is Mulatto.
It's Mulatto now.
It's Mulatto, period. She's the best female rapper ever came out down here. Yeah.
That's crazy to think that in Atlanta's long, illustrious hip-hop history that we don't really have that many. Because I would say Left Eye, but Left Eye's from Philly, if we want to be fair.
Mike, we're working and doing media, working a culture that's male-dominated, misogynistic. You know what the scene down here in Atlanta like. That's not too surprising. It's unfortunate, but not surprising.
Well, I think that there's so many double standards in hip hop when it comes to females in hip hop. Anyway,
saying, look what she had to do, like to even get like the notoriety, because Mulatto can actually spit.
I think the thing is that I find puzzling, and I've written an article about this too. It was called "A Woman's Place in Hip Hop" or something like that, and it's on According to Hip Hop. It's on the website accordingtohiphop.com. But it was the main question, and what made me inspired enough to write it was the fact that if a male MC has a ghostwriter, he's a fraud. But when a female MC comes to the forefront, whether she writes her rhymes or not, we expect her to have a ghostwriter. And I find that very interesting. And I don't know where that comes from or why that's the case, but it is.
I think it's called chauvinism, Mike. I think
like
that's
people
where
will sit there and tell you without any proof or without any reference tracks that Safari wrote Nicki's rhymes. And it's like, huh? Like, do you hear Safari rap and say, you know what? He's the genius behind Nicki's bars.
No, I don't.
Like, that's crazy to me. And Nicki makes a point, and it's unfortunate the female MCs have to make a point to say that they do write their own raps.
Yeah, we don't. I mean, like I said, we don't have these conversations about male MCs when male MCs are dope. When a female MC is dope, what does our culture say? Who writing for her?
Exactly.
Period.
And again, and I think that the biggest problem is that the ones that do write their own rhymes don't get the credit that they deserve because such big ones have, had ghostwriters. I don't know. Is it one of those things where they still want the male to be the person behind the female MC or something?
I told you, Mike, it's misogyny and chauvinism. It's some of the same problems that plague us out in the regular world, plague us in the rap world too. It's still a misogynistic and chauvinistic environment that's male dominated, and the women aren't given the total fair shake that they deserve, quite frankly, in this musical sphere. It's just the reality of the matter. That's why when I see what MC Lyte and Queen Latifah have become, as entities from what they came from music. I'm like, yo, like blueprint plans. Go ahead and follow those. Like you can be real big outside of this because when you look at most of the female MCs, Mike, how many female MCs are iconic for being female MCs?
That is a great question. Unknown Name also said something now, and I'm gonna get to that too. Unknown Name also said something interesting. He said because the best female MCs talk about Kim and Fox had ghostwriters. All right, listen.
Stop. No. I want to stop for a second.
Okay.
I'm gonna tell you why I love what's Foxy's album that got Oh Yeah on it? Broken Silence.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna tell you why I love Broken Silence, and I'm gonna tell you why I love the Notorious K.I.M. Because on the Notorious K.I.M., Biggie's gone. He's been passed away. He didn't write those rhymes.
Yeah.
She's a dope ass MC on that album.
She is.
Lil Notorious K.I.M. Oh no, she's dope. She got bars. She got flows. She got hits. She got the whole story. Aunt Dot with the little Shanice girl. Like she got a little bit of everything. She in her bag on that album as an MC. Biggie didn't write none of that. All right. So she's dope. On Broken Silence, Mike, she's removed from Jay and Nas. And she's back with her brother and her camp and the dude Spraga that she was with at the time. I don't even know if they're still. Like she wrote those rhymes. Foxy on Broken Silence, Mike, go listen to the first 7 tracks of Broken Silence. It's some of the best MCing that you will find. Like,
well, I think some of the best MCing.
Like a female, Mike, the first 7 tracks of Broken Silence are some of the best MCing that you find. Like I forget how she starts it off, but like on the first track, Falling, she was like, y'all want me, y'all gotta say 5 letters like Fendi, Prada, Gucci, Suits, Louis, Chanel, Chloe, Boots. Like she had her bag going crazy with it.
No, I agree with you.
Right there. Don't come stop doing that Kim and Fox Kim and
Fox.
But
see, the thing is, and you're right. You're right. But unfortunately,
Foxy wrote her "Who Shot You" verse. How about that?
Unfortunately, and you're right. I think most of their memorable stuff or the stuff that gets all this replay and that they're most notable for, they have other writers associated with it, unfortunately. But you're right. They've proven.
Did Biggie write No Time? Did Biggie write No Time? Does Christopher Wallace have credits for No Time?
I think he may have. I don't know. I can't
No
confirm.
Time. We'll check.
I mean,
right now.
I've heard that he wrote the whole album. But regardless, like you said, they
no,
both
I
had.
heard that he coached her through the whole album, as in say it like that, flip it like that, go back in and put it in like that.
I think that
like an A&R.
They have proven over the years that they didn't need that. You know what I'm saying? But people will never let them live down those moments when they did have it and want to assume that, okay, if you had a ghostwriter once, you're always going to have a ghostwriter. You know what I'm saying? Because that little run that Kim went on in like 99 when she was on You Don't Want to Play Around and she was on Mobb Deep's Quiet Storm remix. It's like it was one of the best featured runs that anybody was having at that time.
Period.
Like she was going in.
No, you're right, Mike. Biggie got writing credits on No Time with Puffy and with Stevie J. Stevie J produced it.
Fuck you all, I roll like boots. Niggas don't tap my hand, they salute. Yo, she killed that song. Mafia's behind us. Balling like Utah. Stockton again, you know what I'm saying? Anyway, I just find it very odd, though, that is the narrative. And it's interesting that the ones that do say, you know what, I don't have a ghostwriter, it's like we act like don't exist. Like Rod Digger. I hate that, and I love that album. I love Dirty Harriet. And I say it all the time. It's one of my favorite, if not my favorite, female hip-hop albums, period. Like, I could put that on right now. But I hate the fact that throughout the whole album, she had to burn into everyone's head that I write my own rhymes.
Right. I think the only person whose pen has really never been questioned is Lauren's. Isn't that correct? Lauren's only pen that's never been questioned as a female MC. I think if somebody was coming to some sort of problem. I mean, there are people like Jean Grey and Bahamadia, like their pens don't get questioned, but it's like a lot of people don't even know who Jean Grey and Bahamadia are.
No, real shit. Yeah, I think Lauren's never been questioned. Has the Brat's pen ever been questioned?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think Rod Digger's pen's ever been questioned either.
No, I think, but you want to know what? Part of the reason why for me with that, Mike, is because she rhyming right next to Lauren on Cowboys.
Yeah. There's a direct association.
Oh, we got two top notch up in here that do. Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know who doesn't get questioned? And this could be misogyny too. Young M.A. I don't even think people consider Young M.A. a female MC. Do you?
Yes, she a woman, isn't she?
Yeah.
She a woman? Was she born a woman?
I've heard an argument that
Mama named Clay. I'm gonna call
I've heard
Clay.
an argument that a person didn't consider her a female MC because she talks about sexually penetrating other women. She talks about male stuff.
If we just want to take the conversation there, people in lesbian relationships oftentimes use strap-ons to penetrate their partners. So she's still a woman using a strap-on. Next. This is Atlanta. Like, what you want to talk about?
With that being said, though, where do you place, like, if you're talking about just rapping ability or whatever, where do you place Young M.A. with her female counterpart?
She's actually pretty nice. She's good. I consider her to be like an above average MC. I wouldn't even consider her to be average. I consider her to be above average as an MC. Yeah, she got some qualities to her. She's not she's not what I would prefer as an MC per se. She's not necessarily my cup of tea, but no, she doesn't have her moments. Like, she do her thing.
I feel like if a feminine MC were to go out there and rap with her veracity, their pen would be questioned. Her pen's never been questioned.
She nice.
She is nice. No, she can rhyme. But I'm just saying, like, I feel like if a feminine, MC were to be in her, I guess, rapping the bars that she was rapping, their pen would be questioned.
All right, let's just call it what it is. She a stud. She's not a guy.
Okay.
All right.
Well, yeah, moving on.
It's like, I don't know. It sounds like a woman's voice to me. It's like, it's still a woman's voice. It's gravelly, but it's still a woman's voice.
People thought it was a kid when they first heard it.
Mm-hmm.
I got people in the chat saying Young M.A. is a top 10 MC today. She's better than all females easily.
I told you, I consider her to be an above average MC and not even an average one. I consider about 75% of the game to be average. So when I'm saying she's above average, she's in the top 25 percentile.
She's not a better spitter than Rhapsody, and Rhapsody's pen's never been questioned either.
She's what? Hold on, what did you say?
I said she's not a better spitter than Rhapsody.
I thought you said that she was. We were about to fight.
No, and Rhapsody's pen's never been questioned either.
As well as it shouldn't be.
Yeah. I think that there needs to be a little bit more respect there. But maybe I'm just hardcore when it comes to this, but I think that when we give male MCs smoke for having a ghostwriter, maybe we should do the same thing with female MCs too.
That's not.
Why not?
We haven't created enough of a level playing field to level out the playing field like that. We have
to
make the playing field more level.
That's how the playing field gets level.
It's not fair to the women. You have to make the level field more You have to make the playing field more level before you start leveling out the same sort of fines.
So you're okay with female MCs having ghostwriters? Because
of the way they get exploited in this culture? Hell yeah. Do what you got to do to fucking make it, because apparently they're not going to let you make it by yourself without their help any goddamn way.
Okay, that's a fair point.
Okay, right. They're not going to let you do it by your damn self anyway, so do what you got to do to make it. That's why I said, look at Light and Latifah. Nice little blueprint plans right there for you. Some great blueprint plans right there with Light and Latifah.
You know what? Nitty Scott, her pen hasn't been questioned either. I've heard some questionable pen stuff with Queen Latifah. A lot of people say that Tretch was writing some of that stuff.
I mean that from the perspective of both of them have had ghostwriters. It hasn't taken away from them his overall echelon, upper tier echelon MCs. Hasn't taken away from what they've been able to do with their brand outside of hip hop. So that's why I'm saying do what you got to do. Both Light and Latifah have had ghostwriters. They have both written their own shit. They are both also great. They have also branded themselves and made themselves icon in this business and outside this business. That's the blueprint.
What I want to respond to something you said before we move on about when you're a female MC, you can't just be a female MC. You're right. It's like Latifah goes out here and makes jazz albums. Like she's singing. Like Eve, when it came time, she was acting as soon as possible. It's like, yeah, you can't
Line,
just, huh?
fashion line, and acting as soon as possible.
Right.
Smart girl,
Like
smart
Kim
girl,
became a fashion icon immediately. It's like
smart
you
girl,
can't just be a rapper.
smart girl. That's
Yeah.
what I'm saying. It's like because the game ain't designed for the women to succeed long term. It's not. It's not
Lex
built for
P
them to win long
says
term.
Apache wrote for Latifah and her brother.
I just said that. I just
Yeah.
said Latifah had ghostwriters.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
like Mike's brother wrote for her.
Yeah.
Light's brother, Light's brother's, what's his name from audio too? Like, yeah.
Yeah. Craig Singleton says Sarah, I love Sarah, man. She's great.
So,
Yeah. And Boog Brown's dope too, man. It's a lot of dope female MCs out
no,
there.
they popping up. Like, do what you got to do to win.
They've been
You know?
around. It's just the thing that unfortunately they don't get signed up, you know what I'm saying, to the majors at the rate that the guys do.
And
And
also
so,
too, let's just look at it. And let's go back to Mulatto.
mhm.
Mulatto can spit, but Mike, like, you want to address the elephant in the room? You know what I'm saying?
Go ahead, address the elephant in the room. I have my thoughts.
She's physically and appealing.
And she flaunts that at every given moment.
Hold on. Now, is it she that's flaunting that, or is she doing what she needs to do to survive in this game because she knows how it goes? It's a big difference.
It's
You
a
can't be
both.
looking
Yeah.
like all I'm saying is that you can't tell me that if this woman could cover herself up more and get the same respect and clout, that she wouldn't.
No,
So we
that's
still
real.
have problems up in here, right? Because she can actually rap. That's why I'm bringing her up. It's like, oh no, she can rap, but part of why she is where she is because she got it and she flaunts it. But it's because she has to because of how the game is designed for her, and that's not fair.
Rebel and Renegade says stripper rap isn't rap. That's an interesting comment. Speaking of
Where
which,
is this nigga from?
yeah,
Where's
listen,
this nigga from talking about stripper?
Megan's pen's never been questioned either. Megan's pen's never been questioned either. I got to give it to Megan. Megan can rap. And you know, I think Megan was done unfairly when it comes to that WAP song, man. That should have been on her album. And the fact that she had an album coming out, she's half of that song, a very strong part of that song. And Cardi didn't have an album coming out. That single should have been for her. Period.
I can agree with you on that, but I mean, it's also too. It's like there's still some strength in them being able to get together and make that record pop. There is some strength in it, and so for the people that were giving drawback to the song, like, and even while they make songs like that, and even while the cover looks the way it does, I'm just at a point where it's like, man, you better stop hating the player and pay attention to how the game gets played. You get what I'm saying? Like, don't hate on them. Like, they playing the game the way that it was set up for them. And they're maximizing it.
My thing is, man, you know what I'm saying? Just be skilled.
Like if we don't want them exploited on this nature, or we want to talk about the exploitation of it, well, we have to stop motherfucking exploiting them. You feel me? Like niggas want to make it about skills when they not horny.
Well,
Like,
the thing is, though, Coop, though, look, we got to keep it real, though. Is it all about the
You're not
male?
horny, it's about skills.
Is
but right
it-
now,
is it all about-
and she can rap a little bit and you with it. That's why I was like,
No,
when you saying stripper rap, it's like, what is you saying?
Well, hold on. Let's keep it real, though, Coop. Is that more about the male listener, or is that really what the female listener wants to hear on a mainstream level, too? Like, we got to keep it real. Like, because really, we're not the ones just riding down the street to this stuff.
No, Mike. So I'm.
And we're not the ones in the club telling the DJ to put this on either.
No. I'm gonna speak to something. You know, when I was in college, I went to college in my mid-30s as an adult learner. I took a hip hop class that was in the African American diaspora curriculum. It was actually, I think, the class that I took was the first time that they did a class like this, so it was kind of groundbreaking for them to even be broaching the hip hop subject into the diaspora. There were two professors. One was a man. His name is Dr. Seneca Vault. The other one is a woman. Her name is Dr. Nicole Guillory. Dr. Nicole Guillory is the author of the term "Black love is tenuous" that you and I have talked about. Everybody's heard me talk about. She's the one that hit me with the "Black love is tenuous." Dr. Guillory brought up something very valid. We were talking about Lil' Kim's hardcore in class. And it was like, she told me, and I want you to understand, this is Dr. Nicole Guillory saying this. This is a doctor. Like, this is one of the most intelligent and esteemed black women I've ever met in my life. And she was like, Mike, I love that shit. She said it just like that. She said, I love that shit and I love every minute of it. And I said, why? She said, it's empowering, Armand. I said, why is it so empowering? I said, because she talking the way you niggas talk. Ooh. Eat your food. Eat your food.
But is that empowering?
No. We gotta, as men, we need to eat the food. I get what she said. Like when she said that, it hit me. It's like, oh, she is talking greasy about it the way that we are. It's like, oh,
well, it was written by a man.
So no. So the women have always been the one. No, the women have always been the one that have been subjected to the greasy talk and objectified by it. And what she was saying was, this is like, how's it feel to be objectified and subjected to it, nigga?
But are you still not being objectified if the man's writing it though?
Hold on. That's what I'm saying. It's like, go listen to hardcore. It's like, don't tell me she didn't have no say, because that shit for the women. So they might have wrote some shit, and I guarantee you, if you listen to the tone of that album, she was like, no, that don't work for us. I need to say it like this. So I bet you there was a lot of creative consulting and back and forth going on. But even hardcore, even though written by the men, no, Kim wrote some shit.
I think that makes it a lot less empowering if the man wrote it. I mean, you know what I'm saying? If that's the basis that you're going on.
No. There are plenty of men that get on stage with a man or a woman behind them writing the words, and it don't mean a motherfucking thing. We can't play the game on two different levels. That's what I'm saying. We got to make the playing field fair when we're saying those things. It's like, oh, a man wrote it. It's like, so what? A woman said it, and women got empowered by it. What matters more?
Well, I feel that, but if it's about doing what the men do, and it's like it kind of
it's already proven that her pen's
viable
too, so like that's what I'm saying. It don't matter because Kim's pen's viable too. So that shit's a moment.
But you're talking about hardcore specifically, which was written by Biggie, so I could see if we were talking about another
Biggie. I mean, Mike, if you really want me to go into my catalog, like in my mind, I feel like Biggie was more of an executive producer of hardcore than a writer on
I've
hardcore.
Heard the reference tracks. He wrote that album.
I'm pretty certain he gave her bars, Mike. He didn't write every line on that album, Mike. You can't listen. Like how about as a guy, there's some of the things that she's talking about, he don't know shit about. You feel me, Mike? And if he do, it's a problem.
Hey.
So what you want to say to that? Oh, Biggie wrote. Oh, did Big write that? I hope he didn't. No,
well, listen, I didn't know the man personally, but I did hear I heard the reference tracks.
There are some things getting said, Mike, that's only explained from a woman's perspective. And the facts and the credence to the fact that she wrote some of that album is the gravity to which women, even esteemed, respectable women like Dr. Nicole Guillory, are drawn to it. That shit for the women, Mike. I don't care if Big helped write it. He helped write it. She had to say so.
I think you want to think that he helped write. I've heard the reference tracks, man. He wrote that shit, man. It is what it is. It's been highly documented. It's highly documented that he wrote
every song on hardcore, Mike. No,
he did, man. And that's part of why he's such an incredible MC, man. Like, he did that, a double album, and was writing on Puff stuff all at the same time.
Mike. No, Mike.
And he was writing all the Junior Mafia stuff, too. So it doesn't just go to her.
I want to submit something to you. Right now, when you say all these things and you're not giving Kim her due, you're being more a part of the problem than the solution.
I'm being honest. I'm not saying that he wrote for her his whole career. But if we're talking about hardcore, he wrote it. He wrote it.
I'm telling you, it didn't go like that. Like,
were you there? Cool. Were you there? I know you wanna think she wrote something.
No, I'm speaking about artistic license. And what I'm telling you is that he might have written some shit. And she probably went back and was like, well, I can't say that. I got to say this because it's me.
What songs are we talking about? I mean, again, we can romanticize and just hypothesize that, but the proof is there are reference tracks. Big wrote that. It is what it is.
Mike, okay, he wrote some songs.
Because you were talking about hardcore specifically. Now, if she was talking about Notorious K.I.M.,
that up in reference to how it came up in a forum in class about hip hop and how a professor, a respectable and esteemed professor, like who's a little bit older than me too, gravitated towards that album. And the thing that was striking when she said it was that there were women 20, 25 years her junior that gravitated towards it with the same impact. That's Kim. That's not Big.
Well,
They
I
don't,
just think,
because Mike, if you really want to go back to it, I said something about Big right in that class. None of them fucking cared. They were like, who spit that shit out, Armand? Who performed the songs? Who empowered us? Like, I'm just telling you what the women told me, and that's why I'm telling you it's coming off a certain way, because I've had this dialogue with women and been in your shoes and said the things that you were saying. That shit did not play.
well, of course it didn't, because you were trying to debate women. You know what I mean? But at the end of
I lost. It was
yeah,
bad.
I mean, you can't really debate. You
It
can't
was
really
bad.
debate
I
emotion with
did wrote
logic.
that shit, and they were like, he didn't write all of it, and so what? If
They
like,
want
Mark,
to
they
they want to
destroyed
believe what
me.
they want to believe. But all I'm saying is, I think that the notion of
Wait till we knock up on
women.
these comments, Mike. It's a wrap for you. I'm trying to
Yeah, I
tell you.
know. I'm just being honest, man. And I said I'd be honest on
About
this
to
mic.
hurt real bad in these
I
comments.
just think that the notion of women doing what men do and men doing what women do is overrated, man. Men are men and women are women. It's cool. Shit. I mean,
But what
kid,
I'm
you know
saying,
what?
hold
Kid
on,
Cudi's wearing a
but it's
wedding
not
dress.
cool. But it's not cool in a sphere where we're asking out for things to be leveled out evenly when they're being grossly mistreated the entirety of the time.
All I'm
No,
saying is, and again, it's our job as journalists. We
But
need
the
to.
hardcore Wikipedia right quick. Want to see how many tracks Big wrote.
Oh my goodness. I think it's just our job as journalists to highlight those great female MCs that are writing their own stuff and they are spitting their shit. I mean, there's plenty of them out there. And I think, like you said, a male dominated industry likes to highlight the ones that were basically, spitting out the rhymes that guys wrote for. Shout out to Lauren. She's incredible. And I think she's another one that, obviously has never had any questionable pen. That Carlos says, Mike, what's the best female rap album? I love this question, and I'll say this a million times. In my personal opinion, my favorite female rap album is Rod Digger's Dirty Harry. I remember when I heard Tight and just heard her spit, and I was like, yo, she going in. I got to get this album. I bought the album. I still listen to it all the time. What's Up with That's on there. The production's on point. I love the record that Pete Rock did on there. I love the Outsiders feature. Man, that's my joint though. That's my favorite female rap album. And Hardcore celebrating 25 years today. And I think for many people, Hardcore is the one. I mean, it's got the hits. It's transcended, and it's an incredible album. You know what I mean? Necessary Roughness, Lady of Rage. That's a good one too.
That's good. Mike, I guess my trifecta would be Lil Kim's Hardcore,
Yeah.
Rhapsody's Eve,
Very
and
good.
The Brat Funkdafied. Those are my three favorite female rap albums.
The Brat Funkdafied. That's interesting.
Funkdafied is the shit, man.
It is. I rock with Funk. I had the tape. You know what I'm saying?
I had the tape. I killed that shit every time he left his room.
Well, you know what? I think this is a good transition to the next person that we were going to talk about before we close out. I know Snoop was supposed to come out with an album today called The Algorithm. I don't think it dropped. But I know it made me start thinking about Snoop's catalog altogether. And once again, his album, The Dogfather, celebrates its anniversary today too. But with that being said, what is it, 25 years for The Dogfather?
Yeah, it's a terrible album.
I think The Dogfather, I say this respectfully because I got Doggy Style in my top 5 or whatnot. I think The Dogfather might be the most disappointing sophomore effort in hip hop history. But he had a lot going on at the time. But just talking about the music, I think that's probably one of the most disappointing, if not the most disappointing hip hop albums ever. But with that being said, man, are you looking forward to a new Snoop Dogg album when it does drop?
Well, I didn't know how to look forward to it because I love the song that he dropped, but he's just on the hook.
It's interesting.
The song's
right?
dope.
Yeah.
It's some Wu-Tang shit, Mike. It's like when you buy a Wu-Tang album and like the artist whose album it is isn't on the song at all, or they just on the hook, and it's like, oh, that's Wu-Tang shit. That's what I thought when I heard the record. I'm like, no, record's dope. I like the record a whole lot. Jadakiss turned back into Jadakiss, Mike.
I think, man, I want to talk about Snoop though for a minute, man. Like, what is Snoop to hip hop? I feel like Snoop is kind of like a George Clinton esque figure in hip hop, where he never left. He's always been here, but it's like we stopped keeping up with the new efforts like a long time ago. He's more of a staple in the culture as opposed to an MC. Because I know he has a position over at Def Jam, so I don't know if his new album's coming out on the Def Jam or whatever. But he has this whole initiative about bringing hip hop back and this and that because he's at Def Jam. That's how the whole Warren G conversation came up. But I don't know. I don't know what to
So,
expect.
so you want to know what? Do like you and me? We talk a lot of the time about on and off camera about Stevie Wonder's run of
Hmm.
like music when he was like in his prime and viable. In his prime, for most people, and I think you would agree, is pretty much like everything from about 69 to 81, right? 69 to 81. It's
Yeah.
fair?
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Right. So a lot of what people forget is that no, like Stevie was still dropping material after that, but when you've been part of the consciousness of our culture for so long, and when you've released but so many projects, you kind of get slid somewhere else, if that makes sense. And
And
so
new
what I would
people
say
come
with Snoop,
along, and yeah, and they have their run, their prime, and your
right,
prime is, previous.
and,
Yeah.
and and it's just right, and it's just the way that it goes. Because I can remember my mom had like a Stevie Wonder tape, Faces. You remember Faces, Mike? It got
Yeah.
released like 91, 92. Like, I love that record, but it wasn't until I was older and I went back to the stuff. It's like, oh, wasn't nobody checking for Stevie like that in 92. He had his run.
Yeah.
You can be a real fan or love a record that he made to really go get it because here's what you have. You have the heart of his catalog already sitting at your house. You're more likely to run out to see him live than to go buy his album. And that's what's really happened to Snoop. And I mean that in a way that it should happen for an icon.
Well, I think that he understands that and he embraces that because when he does a versus or he does his concerts, and that's one of the reasons why I'm really looking forward to his Super Bowl halftime performance, he knows what the people want to hear. I mean, he's a DJ too. So when he goes out there, he's not going to hit you over the head with, this is my new stuff, try to, what I'm saying, sell you on that. He going to hit you with the Snoop Dogg classics. And I think it's something to be said about an artist that really embraces their classic material because not
Right.
enough artists do that.
And so this is what I mean. He is an icon to the point now where it's like, well, him releasing a project isn't gonna garner the fanfare that it used to. But if he come into your town, he about to pack the stadium.
Honcho Black said, I guess he's responding to your Stevie Wonder analogy. He said, except if you're Jay Z, forever young, 100. You know what? Jay Z hadn't dropped Jay Z esque material since 2009. Let's be perfectly honest.
You better not. You need to not be talking that way while Nas is walking around with King's Disease 2 and Death Row East. What are you talking about?
You really love Death Row East.
I'm gonna keep on bringing up Death Row East. Jay don't, because Mike, that's the type of record I know Jay don't have shit for at this point in his career. That's why I'm gonna keep on bringing it up.
Listen, man, Jay Z's about to surprise you, man. He about to drop
You don't have
the
no Death Row
blueprint,
East.
the blueprint 4 on y'all niggas, man.
You don't have no Death Row East.
Well, if what he had on that soundtrack is a precursor of what we're about to hear, man, you can kind of keep it, man.
That's
But
Death Row East. It's not Death Row East. That's Death Row Least. Least.
I will say though, man, like I said in our previous episode, I think his Rock and Roll Hall of Fame speech has me interested in some new Jay Z material. So I think he can do it, but at this point, I don't think we can really brag on the fact that Jay Z is like quote unquote still in his prime because again, Empire State of Mind, Run This Town, and DOA are 12 years old now. Going
He worked
on,
for them people, Mike.
huh?
He worked for them people.
It is what it is. Now I will give it to Nas. Nas dropped some very, very quality material. With King's Disease too, and we just got through talking about the fact that we think it's album of the year for 2021. So
Yes.
But
Yeah, it's clearly album of the year right now.
back
Oh,
to
you know
Snoop
another
though.
person who didn't drop this year that was supposed to drop too, Mike? That's like kind of like affecting this year. Gibbs, Mike. That's what I'm saying. It's like we didn't get that second Conway album, we didn't get the Gibbs album, we didn't get the Kendrick album, we didn't get the Pusha album.
Yeah.
Like that's big. I was listening to Bandana today. You know, Bandana's not that far off Alfredo. It just doesn't come together beautifully the way Alfredo does. But he's got moments on there that are just as strong as Alfredo. It's just not the end to end.
Yeah, Gibbs done, man, he has carved himself out a pretty nice career.
I love
Um,
Gibbs.
what I was
Gibbs.
gonna say about Snoop, man, it's like again, new music for Snoop Dogg really isn't even necessary. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like he's one of those people, he's here anyway. And I
But
don't even
he
know what to expect from new Snoop
He
Dogg
said
material.
but Michael, but who he is what I heard him say this some years ago. He was like, I'm Snoop Dogg. He was like, I can get up off the couch and go tour and go make $1 million in a week.
He can do that.
When he said it, I was like, yep,
I
he
think Snoop
can.
Dogg is probably, possibly the most famous rapper in the world.
Mike, I mean, like, I'm showing up just to hear Murder Was the Case live. That's what I'm saying. Like, yeah, like, because he know what to do. Because I know he performed at Murder Was the Case live. And I know because I've been to one of Snoop's concerts.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
seen him. And he's actually a great live performer, too. I think that's one of the things that gets understated about Snoop. Like, no, Snoop brings energy, brings atmosphere, brings set. And you never know. And he's so big and has collaborated with so many homies. You never know who's coming out bad. Like,
I
you don't
mean,
know
and
if
he's
Dad's
Snoop
coming
Dogg.
out, Pharrell,
Right.
Snoop, Dre. Pharrell, like, you don't know who coming out when Snoop performing too, because he got shit with everybody.
Yeah, Leo Manning says Snoop is an ambassador for hip hop, and he is. You know,
Yes.
he's a staple. And
So I bought up. So let's go to the ambassador thing. I brought up the Stevie Wonder point because we need to be more in the habit of treating our legends in this genre the way that other legends get treated in other genres. So we need to be treating Snoop the way Stevie Wonder gets treated, the way Paul McCartney gets treated, because he deserves it. We gotta start handling that.
yeah,
So it's like, no, we don't need to check for Snoop because he's Snoop. Everything he do real big. He's an ambassador, like Fam said.
yeah.
Everything real big.
I'm looking forward to hearing the album, though, man, just to see what we can get there. But I think Snoop is one of those few MCs too where he doesn't have to be at his lyrical sharpest to give us quality material.
Well, he was never really that for me anyway, Mike. He's
Mm.
actually an outlier for me in terms of like one of the few MCs that like I love and hold in high regard. That's not really like what you would call like a supreme MC is like a lyricist. It's Snoop,
Right.
Mike. Like it's like I kind of like I grew up on him. It's like nigga, I didn't even understand what he was saying on Dre Day when Dre Day came out. I just knew the beat was hard. He sounded great. That was Snoop.
Definitely. All right. Well, you know what? I think that's pretty much everything we covered, man. We like 2 hours in, man. Great discussion.
Like we always do about this
Like
time.
we always do about this time, man. Y'all enjoy your weekend. Make sure y'all go check for accordingtohiphop.com. Go subscribe to the channel, the According to
Click,
Hip
click.
Hop channel on YouTube. Click the bell icon for the notifications so you know when we go live. What were you about to say?
No, click.
Yeah. Tell a friend, and you know what I'm saying? We can have these discussions even more. I don't know what's coming up next week, but I would imagine that French Montana and Stoop are going to drop it sometime because neither one of them dropped today.
Where's Pusha T's album at?
You know what? That's another thing that happened. Pusha T and Malice, they just lost their mother this week, so condolences to that family too. So
Really?
yeah. His mother passed away. I want to say he posted about that 2 days ago. So
Okay.
probably
Condolences.
we might get something, we might not. You know what I mean? Like that's life changing stuff. So
Yeah, condolences. I didn't know. Been off the
yeah.
grid. You know how I be rolling sometime.
Nah, definitely. I should have brought that up at the top of the show. But yeah, we'll see what happens next week. We'll see if anybody drops anything. But I think at this point, man, we're closing the book on 2021 and its hip hop releases. We know that Rick Ross has a date coming out, but we'll be waiting to see what the track list looks like for that. But that's December, so
It is. I've already started making my list and stuff. I got some tentative lists. You want to know what? This hasn't been a great year for rhymes, Mike. I will say that.
hmm
Last year was much easier to pull top 20 verse of the year stuff from than I'm finding this year. You know?
mm,
It just is, because also too, that's what I was saying too. It's like, well, Nas and AZ got a lot of verse of the year stuff, but I'm not about to flood it with Nas and AZ either. Like, it's not like that either. So I'm gonna have to go do some more digging, go back and listen to some projects and see who really snapped. Like last year, the verses were so clear when somebody snapped. Like Stove on Jose Canseco. Like when Stove went on Jose Canseco, I was like, yeah, that's one of the 20 best verses this year. I'm not getting, because I knew when I heard it, it's like, I'm getting 20 better verses than that this year. I'm going to put that on the list. I can mark it down. This year is different, Mike. There's probably only been about 5 or 6 verses this year that I could mark down. It's like, that's clear.
I don't know. We'll go back and listen to the Ransom album. Mickey and Blue dropped their album. Obviously, Love the Genius. And what was another one I was thinking about? That Rosenberg project that came out earlier this year. It was
I just went back and listened to the Rosenberg project. There's no top 20 verse on there. If there is, that if I end up pulling a verse from there, it's a down year for lyrics.
All right. Well, I'm looking forward to seeing the list, and I look forward to talking to y'all next week.
Even this, Mike. So let me